We'll see how this goes. G'day, folks. It's the Maple Monkey here again, and this time we've got another live stream for you. And I have on the channel Nelly or NellyNel, who you might have seen me feature some games before. Because our topic today is we're going to be talking about homebrew. As you've probably seen, the channel has shifted a little bit into Marvel United homebrew channel. So we've been doing a lot of homebrew designs and showing those off and investigating and playtesting and all those sorts of things as well. So I thought it'd be really fun to sort of like have a bit of a chat about the design process. We've had a few chats. I've visited Andrew Fantasia on his channel, and we've had some chats about homebrew there as well. But I thought it'd be really nice to bring on like some of the experts in homebrew design. So I thought, what better place to start than NellyNel? So NellyNel, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your sort of background in homebrew?
I am a expert, as they say. Um, Happy to be here. Happy to be on the channel. I've
Welcome.
greatly enjoyed your videos, so
Oh, thank you.
this is a fun opportunity. In terms of like background for homebrew, I actually don't
Hmm.
have much. Well, sort of. So I've always enjoyed like crossovers and things like that. Like even as a kid, everything I watched, like anytime I watched a show, I would always in my head like, oh, how would it work with these rules? Like, what if everyone in Naruto was a Pokemon trainer? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I never really had like the skills to do anything with it.
Hmm.
Um, my roommate, ironically, Nor, who's in the chat,
Yeah.
he
Hey, no.
had like the first box of Marvel United. We tried it out. We loved it. And it was a game that was like it was really fun and really simple. And despite its simplicity, all the characters and villains felt unique. And I was just like, oh, I kind of want to make my own things. And
Yeah.
shout out to Helios. He has his templates, which just made it that easy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I started. Some people commented that they wanted more. I kept going, and now here I am.
Yeah, fantastic. And hello to Sin and Sin Arcane and Norlith. So Nor is Norlith, is that did you say like you guys are roommates or something? Is that right?
Yep.
Is that the same one we're looking
Yeah,
at there in the
he's
the
yeah
chat?
he's
Yeah,
that
sweet.
is the very same Nor. You've done some of his like Street Fighter stuff,
Yeah,
his World of
fantastic.
Warcraft stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, awesome. Oh, well, there you go. Well, a connection I didn't know about. So, well, there, it'll be very easy to sort of reach out to Nor. Then I should have. Maybe next time we'll have a three-way chat or something like that. Because I'd like to sort of have a chat with a few homebrew designers. So, and Norlith is one of the ones whose designs I've sort of tried a bit. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, maybe we'll tee that up for next time. But well, yeah, interesting. You say that you don't have much sort of background in it, or you sort of didn't have much sort of background because I think that's really inspiring too. Because one of the reasons wanted to sort of put these videos together was to sort of like inspire people to have a go, and that's something that I'm seeing more and more in the Marvel United Discord. And now that Dave, Diversion Architect, has put up that. Marvel United wiki page, and that's sort of getting filled out a bit more. I think more and more people are discovering that, and they're starting to post him and Kanji Studios and Helios are posting more and more stuff to the Facebook group as well. So I think we're seeing more people wanting to give it a go, and I think it's really inspiring to hear if you're watching this down the track and you've thought, oh, I'd like to give it a go. Like you said, with Helios's templates and now Diversion Architects templates as well, whichever way you want to go, um, it's quite easy to sort of well, I shouldn't say quite easy because I sort of fumbled my way through the Photoshop a bit myself
That's
to get
that's
started.
part of the fun.
Yeah. Well, and you're sort of learning a new skill too, right? If you're not familiar with that, but if you do have a bit of Photoshop background anyway, I mean, it's there for you, so ready to go. So yeah, excellent. Oh, very cool. Sin says this will be valuable to watch as I want to make MGS United. MGS. What's that?
Metal Gear Solid, I'm guessing.
Metal Gear Solid. Is that right, Sin? Well, you can let us know if that's okay. Good guess. I was going to say Magic Gathering something. Yes, Magic Gathering Solo. I don't know.
Metal Gear is where my brain went to. So
Yeah,
yeah, Metal Gear.
yeah. There you go. Awesome, awesome. Oh, very cool. Yeah. So, well, that's really interesting because I guess it's sort of similar for me. I just sort of was like, it just sounds so cool to be able to do this stuff. And I know my mates, in board gaming and that sort of stuff for years, we'd always talked about, I guess the more you get into board gaming and stuff, the more you sort of see the nuts and bolts behind it. And so we're always talking about, oh, we should design this, or we should design that. And it's kind of fun just to sort of jump in and just start doing it, and having the tools
Yeah.
like the Photoshop stuff is really handy. So um, I was going to ask about like what sort of first got you into it, like, so did you have any sort of particular sort of, was there like a design or a moment or something that you remember as the first thing that you did? Because I know there's a breadth, we've probably come back to it, but we'll talk about the breadth of stuff that you've done a whole range of things.
Arguably too much, some would
Yeah.
say. So as much as I love My Hero Academia, Naruto
Hmm.
is like the first anime
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I've like got. Naruto is what got me into anime. It's what
Hmm.
got me like obsessed with it. And despite
Yeah.
like 700 episodes, I think I've watched it all like 4 times at this point.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah,
Um, so like, anytime like I'm thinking of anything, Naruto is usually like the first place I go to. Like when I first started
yeah.
watching My Hero,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
my head I was like, okay, so what if everybody from 1A was like the cast of Naruto?
Yeah.
Um, but so when I first found Helios's templates,
Mm.
and the first things I started like brainstorming were like the Naruto characters,
Yeah.
which they've received like a makeover from like when I first started doing them, just kind of
Hmm.
reflecting off the things I've learned since then. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're what got me into it, and I didn't want to like. It's one of the reasons why my channel in the Discord is just Nelly's United Corner versus like let's say Naruto United. I
Hmm.
didn't want to just stick to one thing because I didn't want to
Yeah.
wear myself out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I created like a bunch of different things that I can bounce around. Like I just made 4 My Hero villains.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And as fun as that was like I want to break from My Hero. So now I have a bunch of
Yeah.
things that are like I still have like a couple My Hero things that are close to complete.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but once I finished those 4, I was like, okay, let me take a break from My Hero, jump to Castlevania or jump to Naruto and make some more stuff for that.
Yeah.
Pathfinder, Sentinels, etc. I do need to like pace myself so I don't keep adding more because there is a lot more that I want to add.
Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling. And also I know that feeling when as you guys keep reeling them out. I'm like, I'll print off a whole bunch. I was printing them at like a printing shop sort of thing, just in paper sort of thing, and cutting them out. And like,
Yeah.
I'd bring a whole bunch home, and then like you guys would drop another one. I'm like, oh, it's like, dang it, dang it, now I'm gonna go get more sort of thing. But yeah, keep them coming, keep them coming. But maybe just
Fortunately, they're all on
pace
tabletops,
a little
so
bit. Well,
if
that's
you want
true.
to play them and you don't have the chance to print them, or you don't want to print
Yeah,
them, you just
yeah.
want to try them out.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. That's a good point actually, because I know Helios 23 is a big proponent. He's always advising us to go check it out on TTS, and it is a very quick and easy way to sort of get into it, sort of thing. But I love printing out the stuff. So yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool. I did see there's been some comments here. Someone said might try Mortal Kombat actually. Mortal Kombat old era. If you do, now's a good time to jump on that because Big Head Chibis. I don't know if many people in the chat know about. I think it's like a Patreon type outfit called Big Head Chibis, and they've been doing a bunch of the Street Fighter characters, which is one of the things, along with Norlith, has sort of inspired me to sort of make cards for those. But there's actually a bunch of really cool chibi models for that, and they're also doing they also do a bunch of DC and other Marvel heroes, and they're doing the brute force stuff, which I'm super excited about. We just saw the first one of those get released on their Patreon, but they also have started doing the Mortal Kombat. So Sin, there's models there ready. So if people want to jump on board, they'll have chibi models they can use. So yeah, Mortal Kombat might be a nice one to jump onto. And let's see. Oh, hold on. Now Norlith.
Uh,
I'm not keeping up with the channel, but Norlith said he started brewing up some Mortal Kombat ones too. But as you see, if we all jump in together, there might be room to sort of help each other out too, which is good. So let's have a look. Meeple and I have started talking. Talk to, feel free. Yeah, absolutely. The more the merrier, right? And that's one of the things with the Marvel United wiki. I've set up, and you yourself have set up some pages and that sort of thing. So I don't know how you feel about those pages you've set up, but I've set up a Marvel versus Capcom sort of page. And I've even tried to start doing some Dynasty Warriors characters and bits and pieces like that. But my idea is that if people want to come on and add their own versions of heroes and villains into those pages and sort of expand them out and that sort of thing. The more the merrier sort of thing. That's the nature of the wiki and stuff as well. So, yeah, no reason not to have a few people working on stuff together. And then Power Rangers, Power Rangers version, yeah. So lots of stuff going on. So, yeah, but yeah, it's a big world, right? So, some of the questions I'm going to ask, like, is the Marvel United content your first experience of it? So I guess it is, right? This is the first
my
time you
first
started.
like serious, yeah. Like there's
Yeah.
been things in the past that I played. Like I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh,
Mm.
and I would make like custom because there's a website where you can just make custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
most of those were just kind of like joke cards. Like I had no intention of like following the actual rules.
yeah,
This is like the first like deep dive that I've done full blown. Give to other people to try
yeah,
out.
yeah.
See them
Yeah.
on a
Put it
YouTube
out into
channel
the
where
world.
someone's trying it.
Oh, that's cool. And yeah, I think the only time I'd sort of done stuff was as a teacher in class doing, I guess, similar Yu-Gi-Oh. I think mine was sort of more based on like a Pokemon design or something, getting kids to like study, that they were studying like living things, that unit, sort of that term sort of thing. So getting them to take all their research and think about it and give it sort of mathematical values, and then sort of put their sort of descriptions in there and give ratings and stuff, and put it to a card form, and then the class could sort of put together their like deck of cards sort of thing, and each of them sort of got a set of them, sort of thing. We just did a cheap sort of printout sort of thing, but yeah, that was good fun too. But this is actually sort of thinking about the mechanical design and all that sort of stuff is a lot of fun too. So I think what's interesting too, going way back to what you were saying before about that, you've always sort of been into the mashup thing. I think that's what's so beautiful about like Marvel United, is that it's perfectly right for that Super Smash Brothers
Yeah,
sort of feel of just bringing all the stuff together.
absolutely.
Um, and that's why it really resonated when Norlith, you put together the idea for that Marvel versus Capcom. Well, that's brilliant because you get all the Capcom characters you can chuck in. Plus, Marvel United already is half of it is Marvel, right? So you've got half of the stuff created too. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, um, so and you say like one of the things I thought was funny was you mentioned before, like it's almost like a curse now because you'll be watching, Naruto or One Piece, or you'll be watching shows now, and you're almost like you have to switch off the analytical brain because you'll constantly be sort of thinking, how much of a how common is that? Is that sort of constantly
Literally,
going on?
like I'm staring at the board games in your background, like,
Yeah.
Nor can attest to this. Like, anytime we play a game, anytime I'm watching a show, I'm waiting to renew my Netflix subscription because I want to
Mhm.
watch like the new Castlevania
Oh yeah, yeah,
sequel
that's
just
right.
dropped,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
also want to watch Record of Ragnarok.
Oh,
Uh,
yep, yep, yep.
and I already want. I haven't even seen it, and I want to make characters for that. Uh, I want to like if I add another universe at some point, Dice Throne is one of the top contenders for it.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
because
and then
it's got a bunch of Marvel characters in it already.
yeah, yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
but then it just has a bunch of cool, unique characters.
Yeah,
Plus the new
yeah.
Kickstarter that starts for that in a couple days to add like all the X-Men
In fact,
characters.
yeah, I only just saw that. I thought because I'd sort of I passed on the Marvel one. Um, I've got the previous, the first two, and I've got a love-hate thing. If my mate ever watches this, like, I've never won a game of that. I love the game system, but I've never won a game of it, and it's getting to the point where I get quite annoyed now when I play it, sort of thing. So I was like, I want to get the Marvel stuff, but I'm just gonna end up like, you
Yeah,
know, not
it,
not not
it's
yeah,
dangerous.
not doing. So I passed on it, and then I think they said it was like kind of it was a bit of a strange thing. Like they weren't going to do it because of the license. Something like wasn't going to be something they'd keep bringing back out. It was kind of like a one and done. So I thought, oh, if I miss it, but I thought, you know what, I'll hold off. But now there's the X-Men. I'm like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Like I've got all the other ones. Like there's season 1, 2, wherever I'm pointing,
Yeah.
1, 2 in the Marvel one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I already kind of like I already have ideas, quote unquote, for how I would do
Mm.
them. I
Yeah.
I just don't want to take it further than that because then I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. Then
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like Jujutsu Kaisen from anime.
Hmm.
In a lot of these, like I don't necessarily have to, but
Hmm.
if I do like a new universe, I try to I want to see if there's like a new mechanic I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
bring to it that's kind of unique to said universe. So like for
Mm-mm.
Jujutsu Kaisen, it's probably like one of the higher up. Like if I do Dice Throne, most of the
Hmm.
characters will have like a dice gimmick to them.
Ah,
Um,
very cool. Very cool.
for Jujutsu Kaisen, one of the big powers in Jujutsu Kaisen is domain expansion, where
Hmm.
they kind of create their own sphere. Where within that sphere, it is like it's a whole new location within said location. So I was thinking about like, what if you made a location that was smaller than a normal location? So it would still have like the slots for like the Civs thugs of the original location, but it would have a new design slash end of turn effect that's like specific to that character, and it'd be like kind
Mm.
of like their special card. Um, Overwatch is another universe that I really like.
Is that
With,
is that one of the PvP video games? Is that
yeah,
like a yeah, yep, yep,
so
yep.
like that's just like say what you want about Blizzard, who will not go into that, but like
Hmm.
the Overwatch universe is one of
Mm,
my
mm.
favorites.
Yep.
So like that was a game where like I love the characters, I love the villains, and that was another thing where I was like, what kind of unique mechanic I can do for there? And I was like, well, they all have like ultimate powers, kind of like how Street Fighter you would have like your ultimate ability.
Hmm.
It was like, what if you like they would all have a third or a 13th card, but the
Mm.
13th card wouldn't be in their deck. And so you know how when you complete one mission, the villain goes under pressure. Second
Ah, I think I see where
mission, the
you're
villain,
going. Yep.
yeah. Second mission, they could be damaged. Third mission, you get to draw a card. So the
Mm.
Overwatch characters would have like a unique rule where instead of drawing a card on that third mission, you can
Hmm.
take that 13th card that's not in your deck and add it to your hand.
Ah, yeah, I like it.
Um, and that was like, and I think villains would have a separate gimmick where after once they can be damaged, so one of their rules changes. So like they would have like a normal ban, but then they would have like an ultimate ban when they're damageable to
Yeah,
kind of make
yeah.
up for the fact that villains don't draw like a 13th card.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's cool. Like that. Yeah, that idea of like trying to sort of have like a unique sort of thing to it. Even like when they went from the regular Marvel United um to X-Men, they kind of it was kind of like one of the things that sort of was like a selling point was like, oh, this new X-Men season, it's going to have these like starting power cards, which kind of
Yeah,
going to represent like the mutant powers, which was kind of a cool thing. And so yeah, I like that. Like uh, when um, when I've been looking at this Dynasty Warriors thing, like that's one of the things I was like thinking, oh, maybe you could have like the Muso attack, so and have like, and I remember um, in one of the editions of Dynasty Warriors, they had this like twin link attack sort of thing, like where if you're standing next to another character who's like souped up and they're ready to go, and you're both ready to go, like a little like laser beam thing will like shoot between you to show that okay, these two characters are powered up. So if you both hit your buttons at the same time or something, you get to like do a big double combo attack or something.
yeah,
So I tried to I've tried to sort of work something like that into that. It's still sort of a bit of a work in progress sort of thing. I've sort of made a bit of a start on those guys and then sort of like You know, got distracted by Street Fighter basically because they've got models and stuff. So
Oh, I
um,
trust me, I know.
yeah,
I know a thing or
uh,
two about getting
yeah,
distracted.
yeah. But one of the other things with Dynasty Warriors actually came from I guess it's not really a unique thing to your. I think probably the unique thing to your MHA, the Marvel, sorry, the My Hero stuff, is your like that those quirk abilities and like and that sort of thing. But you had that really cool, which I still haven't been able to show on the channel yet, but I'm planning. I've printed the cards, but that exam deck.
Oh yeah, the
And
exam mode.
yeah, and I think I mentioned a while ago, like I would like to. I still haven't really worked out how to do it properly, but I'd like to sort of work that into the Dynasty Warriors mode to almost have that as like a battlefield orders, or that some sort of a deck that sort of slots into the mode like that, sort of thing. So, but that's part of the fun, right? Is finding like what's going to make this IP or this world have like a unique flavor to it that makes it sort of feel like its own thing, sort of thing, which is pretty cool. And I'm finding out with live streaming how hard it is to concentrate on like having a conversation and like and keep an eye on the comments too, because I've noticed that Helios, hello Helios 23, has jumped in, and he says we should do the Flavors United, which I think is like those little gacha
Yeah, he sent a
machines.
couple of those in the
Yeah,
Discord.
and I think
He's
the flavors
tempting
are like
me.
these little not animals, but little food characters, right? Is that what the flavor ones were?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
gonna be the like the ice creams. I think they
ice
were.
creams. Yeah,
That's gonna be the entire month of April, Helios.
yeah.
So just April Fool's month is just gonna be Thomas the Tank Engine United and Flavors United.
And I can see the rest of the chat is just all these different suggestions for different things. So what's this? I wonder how we'll change how well a charge mechanic would work. Needs 3 to 5 heroes to charge up. I guess that's kind of what I was sort of aiming for with the Muso link. It's only two
Yeah,
characters, but I think I did say in the rules you could have three, or I think you could have the whole team go for once, which was kind of cool. But yeah, so there's lots of cool stuff you can do with it, right? There's like
it is like
yes,
they made the game like the game is so simple. Yeah, there's enough like layers to it that you can kind of
yeah,
play around, and you can even
yeah,
kind of go about like the same. Because ironically, you did something similar to what I was thinking for a universe that I will probably never actually do, but the
yeah.
thought drifts in their head because that's the curse. When you did ironically brute force, you
Okay,
had
yeah.
the fusion mechanic for them to like Voltron up.
Oh yeah, yes, that's right.
Um, One of the ideas I was playing with like in my head that may never see the light of day was I was thinking about like Yu-Gi-Oh United, and a lot of like a there's like the duelist, but then b there's like the
Mhm.
cards, and a lot of the cards have a lot of unique lore and gimmicks to them. And I was
Okay.
thinking specifically the elemental heroes, which was like my favorite deck when I was a kid and when I played the game,
Hmm.
where like every one of the cards is a hero, but a big gimmick is that a lot of them confuse together to create like a brand like Avion and Bersenatrix confused together to make Flame Wingman. And I was like, and then the way I had it in
Okay.
my
Yep.
head,
Mm.
so it was very interesting to see your Voltron thing because we went about it same gimmick but very different like way of going about it.
Mm.
It was the way I was thinking about doing it was each of the elemental heroes, one of their special cards was just going to be a fusion card.
Okay.
And let's say you're Avion and I'm Bersenatrix. If you played your fusion card, nothing would happen because it's the only fusion card in the storyline.
Hmm.
But then on my turn, if I play a fusion card, I can fuse with anyone who already has a fusion card in the storyline,
Hmm. Hmm.
as long as there's like a compatible quote unquote fusion. And the way it was going to work was that the fusion, it would be similar to what you did. Both pieces would get removed from the deck. The fusion
Yeah.
piece would go in,
Yeah.
but then there would be essentially a team deck. Um,
Okay. Yep. Yep.
so similar to like the team hero decks that are coming out in season 3, there would
Yeah.
be a team deck specifically for the two fusion characters, but only when they're fused.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so like that was
Awesome.
like the idea that was floating around in my head with
Yeah.
that. So when you saw the Voltron, I was like, do I say anything? Like did I will this into existence?
Well, you know what was so cool too? It's funny about that is that I guess ironically as well. so the I guess the basic mechanic that I've got for the way that I've got Voltron fusing comes from you. Because it's basically I've just ripped off Monkey D. Luffy from your oh God, I happen to have them right here. Your One Piece stuff, which we haven't talked about yet. We haven't even mentioned One Piece. Brief aside, I have recently just caught up with the anime, not the manga yet, but the anime. So I'm all I made it,
I'm chugging
thousand or
along.
whatever. Yeah. But
I'm almost done. I'm on episode 73.
but you got to catch up because I want to have like multiple versions of all the characters. Like Helios has got so many awesome characters, and I want to have like I want to have double. I want to have all of them.
So
um,
funny enough, like Helios, actually I think it was Helios was the reason I started
mhm.
doing One Piece because like I was doing
I get that.
Naruto, and then I remember because when I first started, and I still do, like I'll if somebody makes a request, I'll try to prioritize like that request over whatever I currently have on there.
Hmm.
At the moment, I was only doing Naruto stuff, and I
Yeah.
believe it was Helios who was like, "Oh, One Piece would be cool." So then I
Hmm.
was just like, "Sure, why not? Let's add a universe." And then and that's when I started doing that, and that's the reason I started watching One Piece because
Ah, awesome. Okay.
the first character I made was Nami,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that was just 100% like going off of Wikipedia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I knew nothing about the show, I knew nothing about the universe. I knew who the characters were, and I've absorbed enough just through proximity of the culture. So like I knew who Nami was, but I didn't really know like what she could do. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
remember looking at like one of the One Piece games. I was
Oh,
looking at
yep. Yep.
how their special attacks worked, and apparently the first card I made isn't really how she functions. It's the Mirage one that I did where she can ignore damage and then move to the adjacent location.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Yep.
like in the game, it gave buffs to like to her and her team. So the
Oh,
original
okay.
version of that was like everybody in your location can ignore damage and then move. And then
Hmm.
Helios corrected me. He was like, "That's not really how it works in the show. Like it's kind of specific to her." I'm like, "Damn, if I'm gonna keep doing this, I'm gonna have to watch One Piece."
Yeah. Well, it's good we've got the lore master Helios there to steer us in the right direction, sort of thing, which is cool. So, Sinarkane says he stopped watching One Piece during the Crocodile Saga. Okay, every episode felt the same. Stuck in the desert. Yeah, I suppose it does have a thing where, like, especially like they tend to show like 20 minutes of like recap before they do the next part of the episode, sort of thing. So it gets a bit stuck in the rut. But well, Sin, I can see your point, but if you ever decide to go back to it, there's a lot to reward you there. It's very cool. But
I am
to kind
enjoying it. Like I wasn't against One Piece, but I was against watching
of,
it for
yeah,
just because A, it's so
it's a
long.
big commitment, right? Yeah.
B, I wasn't a big fan of a lot of the I don't want to say the art style, but like some of
Hmm.
the character designs just kind of threw me
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Um and
It's definitely
so,
unique, isn't it? It's like a
yeah,
yeah.
like there's a lot of characters who just kind of like look like, like typical humanoids.
Mm.
But then there's a bunch of characters who just have like really weird proportions, like very like cartoony. Uh,
Yeah. And
and it's
that
just
just
like,
keeps going.
yeah. And now that I'm watching it, and like every now and then one of like a character like that will show up, and I'll shake my head, but I'm enjoying like the story, and like the characters.
Yeah.
Like Zoro's backstory made me cry, which is not that hard to do. But
Yeah.
well, like I became invested enough. Where like, all right, I'm gonna keep watching,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'll attempt to get through the entire thing. But fortunately, since like you and Helios have been like pumping out like One Piece content, it's allowed
Mhm.
me to kind of slow down so I can work on like the other things that I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like I do plan like I don't know when I'm gonna jump back into it, but you know, like I guess kind of like the since Helios has seen everything, he has the advantage of being able to make exactly what he wants. Where I'm
Yeah.
kind of going like, well, here's where I am. So like, if I were to make something today, it
Mm.
would probably be Smoker.
Oh, awesome. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, very cool.
yeah,
Very
because like
cool.
I passed like
Mhm.
Buggy showed back up, but I've already made Buggy. Alvida, I think her name is, who now has like
Oh,
the smooth
yeah,
skin
smooth,
fruit.
smooth fruit or something. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, which like I haven't seen really enough of her to be like, okay, let's turn that into a villain. But
yeah, yeah,
Smoker, I liked as a character.
yeah,
I was like, well, he's like the first Navy guy I don't hate. So
yeah.
it's like I could easily see him being like, I don't know. I know he does more on the show according to Wikipedia, but I haven't gone too into it because I don't want to spoil myself on it too much.
Yeah, yeah,
But like I can see him being like an anti-hero with like a villain and a hero deck.
yeah, yeah. I think I don't know if I'm getting into spoilers here, but apologies, Helios, if I'm talking out of turn. But we may see something down the track soonish in regards to that too. I think so. He might
Cool.
have us covered as well in the meantime. So spoiler. Oh, I've got a Me for Monkey exclusive. That was pretty good.
I'm here to get all the dirt. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, long aside here. I wanted to point out, yeah, that your gear system that you had for Luffy, that's where I got that. I pretty much just copied that for the joining together thing for um, who was it? Voltron, Deadpool
Yeah,
Voltron, or whatever his name is.
for brute
For Brute
force.
Force. Yeah, yep, yep, yep. So that idea of like um, sort of having these cool sort of powers that you sort of have temporarily or have split up, but then if you sort of like can do the right thing, that you get the benefit of all of them type thing. And of course it sort of works a bit differently because you've got the different characters that sort of bring it together, but that whole idea of sort of like being able to have all these separate abilities that can be combined sort of thing was cool. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Let's see, trying to keep an eye eye on the chat here.
I'm also
uh,
watching. Like I got my my stream set up
yeah.
from when I normally do this. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's my window, my chat window there.
Oh yes, and at first I Norris talking about NGL, and I'm like, what series is that? Then I'm like, oh, not gonna lie, maybe. But he's talking about Helsing, because I noticed he was going to do a bunch of that too. So I think in the Marvel United Homebrew universe, we've definitely got a lot of the animes covered, don't we? We've got Naruto, and we've got
Yeah,
um, the One Piece, and yeah, I think there's a few, and you've got the not Helsing. What's it called? Castlevania.
yeah.
Castlevania,
I've
right?
done.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Let me open up my.
Mm.
I've done Castlevania,
Mhm.
My Hero,
Mhm.
Naruto, some of One Piece, but most of the credit for One Piece goes to you and Helios. You guys have done significantly more than I have on that.
Mm.
Uh, Pathfinder and Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Yeah, that's right. And Sentinels of the Multiverse. I was gonna actually before we get to that, let me remind me if I forget. But I keep thinking, oh yeah, I've done a bunch of One Piece stuff. I really haven't done a lot of. I think I've done a lot of One Piece, but really I've been spending most of my time doing Brute Force and Street Fighter. I think because I've
We've
only done a
Mandelaed
couple of.
ourselves into
Yeah. but Helios definitely has. He's man. Like he's Helios. You have designed, not because I keep thinking, oh, I'll put out a bunch of characters. It'll be like an expansion's worth of things, and that'll be that series. You've designed like several Kickstarters worth of with promo boxes included and exclusives and stuff. We've probably got 3 seasons of One Piece United already, I think. So that's pretty cool. But coming back to your Sentinels of the Multiverse one as well, I was going to ask you, um, is that mainly are you sort of getting that from the, I don't know if whether it was like a deck building card game or something like that, or because what I was excited about that you started making those characters is I've backed. I don't know if I'll ever get it because it's one of those Kickstarters that's like sort of back when I was backing a lot of Kickstarters, and there's a I think it's called Freedom 5 or something.
yeah.
And there's a bunch of models for that sort of thing. So I'm like, oh, I hope he does most of the characters that have models in that game, because then I'll have figures to use for it, sort of thing. So is that something that you're familiar with? Are you like a?
So I know that board, like that board game you're talking about, I know
Hmm.
exists.
Hmm.
For me, I got into it from the deck building card
Oh,
game.
so it was a deck builder. Is that
Yeah, it
originally
was
the game was a
well,
deck builder?
each hero has like their own deck.
Hmm.
And then there's like a villain deck similar to how like United works, minus the well, there is a location, but the locations just kind of change the effect of what's kind of going on for everybody. Like it would essentially be like hero turn, hero turn, hero turn, environment turn, villain turn.
Mm,
Um, so like, and there's the entire game of it is on Steam, and that's how I got into it. Like I
mm.
never played the actual physical card game. I played the digital version of it.
Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Um, yeah. So
mm,
that's kind of where I got in. Like I got into that, and then
yeah.
when I was making, still am. Like
Yeah.
I open up the Steam game because it has like a gallery of all the cards, so it's easy for me to reference and use like the images from said cards.
Mm. I see a question here, and by the way, Helios has given props to the gear system. It is a very fun thing there.
Thank you.
Um, who was it? Sins asked, how would you go about the Soul Eater, given everyone is kind of a tag team? So I don't know if Soul Eater is a reference back to
I'm guessing
something in
that's the
Hellsing, or
anime.
so is there an anime called Soul Eater? Is there?
Yeah,
Okay,
I've
okay.
seen a few episodes of it. Time to time to pull up the wiki really quick.
Oh, oh, very good.
So Eater wiki.
So, so everyone is a tag team in Soul Eater. Okay, I guess it is maybe like their powers work when they sort of team up together or something.
Yeah,
Guessing. Okay. Oh, cool. That'd be an interesting, almost like a smash up or super fantasy brawl, but like a co-op thing where like you take two heroes and mash like a deck together, and you have two characters or something. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
I
that'd
could
be
I could
interesting.
see I could see something like that. Like if you were to do like rather than a 12, like you could I could without
Like
diving
two
too deep into
sixes.
how like each
Mm,
character would be two things of six or one thing of
mm,
six, and then
yeah,
you would pick two characters and that'd be your deck.
yeah.
Or since the game is a minimum of two players, well, you can do one player, but even if you're doing one player, you have multiple decks.
Mm,
So
mm,
you can either just base it around that, or you can just make it so the soul leader characters kind of have to be played with each other, and they'll have cards that'll play off each other.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, without
Don't
going.
give us any more ideas. Sin, you can work on that one. You stick with that one. But that sounds good. Another huge motivation is if they have figures for the of course, right? Yeah, that Helios is saying that's a big like that's one of the things that was the tipping point. Like Andrew Fantasia, I mentioned before. We've done a couple of videos where we've talked about what would be some fun things to see, and we some of the it was fun. We were talking about some of those mechanics, like if we did Transformers, like you could have like card flipping or something like
Yeah.
that. Like, um, but a big consideration. We can talk all day about what IPs would be fun to make, and this is even something with like just making the Marvel like the Marvel characters themselves. Is that if there are no models available, it's like, oh yeah, I've made this character, yeah, and then you're like, oh, I've got to proxy this, I guess Pyro will be kind of looks similar to Sienna Blaze or something,
Yeah.
so, um, but yeah, having models, which is why when I decided to take the plunge and do the Dynasty Warriors stuff, um, the one of the things I thought, oh yeah, I can do this is because of that White Death, the zombie side, and there's a bunch of the like Dynasty Warriors and the Samurai Warriors characters sort of in that. So I thought, oh yeah, well they'll at least be they won't be chibi, but they'll be models, And so I thought, oh well, that's something I can make up, sort of thing. But I really appreciate having like we've got minis from Mars who did the Senator Kelly model, and hopefully he'll make some other designs down, at least for some of the tokens, hopefully down the track and stuff. We've got I think there's uh, so there's Big Head Chibis who we've mentioned, and so there's a lot of great stuff there that we can access as well. And there's another what's Marvelous Custom Print, I think, does a range of like Star Wars characters and things like that as well. So that's really cool as well. There are options for us, and sometimes it's not in chibi form, but yeah, having models is great. And with the One Piece stuff, having those the gacha things, the One Piece. I never know how to pronounce it, like the 1P no Mi or whatever, because I think no Mi is like the devil fruit in Japanese or something.
Yeah.
I think they're like devil fruit collectibles or something. But those little chibi figures, which you can probably see a bunch with big glare, you probably can't see them much at all. But those are great. And actually, I know one of the guys in the Discord. Actually, his plan for I think not so much One Piece, but I think for My Hero Academia, I think he's really inspired by your My Hero Academia cards. Is he's using the chibis, not chibis. What do you call them? The Funko Pops.
Yeah.
And it works, right? Because the game is so abstract sort of thing. It doesn't really matter whether the model's this big or this big. They generally fit on those tables. You can because they're all spread apart, even if they can't all quite fit on each location sort of thing. That
Yeah.
still kind of works sort of thing. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. Having the models is pretty cool. It's a big sort of excitement factor because you're going to get to sort of have that sort of represented on the board and that sort of thing as well. So my questions have kind of gone a bit off track here, but that's good because it's like I'm glad
It's a flowing conversation.
yeah, that's right. And we've got some great questions and comments and stuff, and there's a good old chat in the comments there. I can do MGS, which we now know is Metal Gear Solid United, when I get Metal Gear Solid board game. Oh, so there are going to be models for that too. Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Okay,
From
very cool.
Come On too. As on top of that, I remember seeing them announce that. I didn't look too much into it, but I do like Metal Gear Solid. I do like the
Yeah.
I like the villains a lot for Metal Gear Solid, so I'm hoping they have a lot of cool things for
Mm,
that.
yeah, and that I mean, so, I feel like I feel like probably 70% of the IPs we've talked about, I'm not really very familiar with. So I'm like I know of Metal Gear, and I know I played one of the games, but it's still the core concept is it's like secret agent Solid Snake guy kind of sneaking in and doing like infiltration type missions. Is that roughly the
Yeah, like
concept? Is that what we're talking about?
it always kind of like starts with you're just like you are like a stealth special agent,
Yeah,
infiltrate X location, and then it always kind of goes off the
off
deep
the
end
rails
with
a
like
bit.
supernatural villains and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay. Oh, actually,
Um,
I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
yeah, like a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of it is very like it always starts kind of like grounded in like yeah we're doing this infiltration mission during this X historical event, but then
Yeah.
you're just like, all right, well, this guy's a vampire. This person just like Lady Luck can't be shot. This person controls bees. Like it just kind of always goes off the deep.
Well, okay. So, because I was thinking, like, oh, like that gives you sort of your first sort of concept or like conceit of that world is like, how do you set in the Marvel United sort of thing, maybe interacting with the locations or something? How do you do like a sneaking around mechanic or like something like that? So that'd be an interesting thing seems like it would be unique. But then it also sounds like then how do you have magical bees and like stuff as well. But just see and hello to Kanji. So Kanji Studios has joined us. Um, so yeah, g'day Kanji. We're having a good old discussion about homebrew design and that sort of thing, and just some of the different inspirations for us, and we haven't really talked much about. Maybe we should get into it. Our actual sort of design process and that sort of thing as well,
Okay.
because and feel free because we've got plenty of homebrew design royalty in the in the chat with Helios and Norlith and Sin Arcane. You could include yourself in that if you're already starting to think of ideas and stuff like that as well. But Kanji Studios has been putting together a bunch of stuff too. So tons of awesome, actually, probably the most prolific sort of like just Marvel characters and stuff. We've been launching off into different IPs and stuff, and you've really helped fill out the actual Marvel backlog of things that we didn't get in season 3. Like the season 4 prototypes sort of thing. So that's really cool. So yeah, so feel free to sort of jump in, you guys in the chat with your processes and things like that as well. But I guess let's have a look at what was some of the things I was going to ask about with that, because I think like in terms of design process, like um, do you have a sort of a thing that you go through each time? Like I know we've got these templates which when I was starting out, I was using. I think Helios23 is the one who's posted those as well. I think either yourself or Norlith also posted a version, I think, of your hero one as well. And so those were really useful for me at the beginning. But I find myself, I sort of just launch in now. I kind of just build it as I go in the Photoshop thing. So like, do you have like a process or like a method or a structure you go through each time, or do you just kind of like,
Yeah.
does it change from
Um,
mission to mission, or?
it's a bit different between hero and villain.
Hmm, hmm.
But for me, mine's is a little more old school. I have everything like on a Word document.
Yeah.
Let me open up my folder so I can reference it
Oh
while
yeah.
I'm looking at it. But like each, let's do my hero. I have a folder for anti-hero, hero, location, mode, villain, and then within each, like I'll open Stain. So like within his hero deck, there's like a Word document that just kind of has anything I'm thinking out, like kind of outlined for it.
Mm.
Um, the first thing I usually end up doing is kind of figuring out what the spread of tokens will be. Which
Oh, okay.
for heroes, I usually I most universes, at least for anime anyway, will usually have like a stat. Like they usually like Naruto has like the data books where they kind of create like a stat spread of like this is what their strength is. This it's like I kind of like what stat kind of correlates to which Marvel action. Um,
Oh, okay.
and that's
That's
kind of what I
interesting.
usually end up doing. Like
Mm,
I'll actually let me pull up Stain on my hero.
mm.
Stain, Chizome, overview.
And so this is the hero version of Stain?
Yeah, so for the
Yeah.
hero version of Stain,
Yeah.
like he in the Ultra Archive is the book that is called for my hero, where it'll give
Mm-hmm.
like a stat profile. So like it shows like his power is C rank 3 out of 5, his speed is S rank 6 out of 5, technique 5 out of 5. So like I'll look at these stats and like I'll ask myself like, okay, so what stat correlates to which Marvel action? So like so for my version of Stain, look using his stats, he's got like I put like technique for like the heroic actions. So he has a lot of
Mm-hmm.
heroic actions. He has a lot of
Yeah.
speed, and then his power is kind of like he has three. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so he
Ah,
has
it's
5 out of
interesting.
14 heroic actions, 6 out of 14 move actions, and then 3 out of 14 attack actions. And that's just kind of like based like if I were to take those his stats from the book and convert them to
Mm.
stats in
That's
Marvel Ult United.
that's so funny because I think the book you're talking about, I've got that book, and I was literally just looking at the other night, going, I wonder if I should tell Nelly about this book, and like he could maybe have a look. He might find it useful for like designing some of his characters, like I'm here to teach the master how to do it, right? He already, it's like, yeah, that's what I do, Oh, but that's cool to know that that's what you use, because I remember looking, going, oh wow, this has got stats. That'd be, yeah. I was like, oh, you could treat that. So
Yeah,
it's
like
cool that you
that's
were doing that.
so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
tends to be
awesome.
like the
Yeah,
first thing I do is like how do I take these stats and convert them
yeah,
into actions at the bottom of the card. Then it
yeah.
kind of goes into creating like figuring out how many abilities I'm gonna do. Which
Mm-mm.
when I'm doing that, I usually look for like I'll look at a couple of already existing United characters and
Mm-hmm.
kind of see what their spread is. Like how many actions do they have
Yeah.
compared to how many like abilities do they have? How many actions worth is each ability that they
Mm.
use?
Yeah.
Then I'll try to match it up with somebody to keep it within like the same balance range,
Yeah.
even if the
Right. Okay.
abilities are like wildly different. But like if this
Yeah.
character does like okay, move to any location and then punch there, I'm like okay, so that tells me that this ability is worth like 2 actions, a move and an attack. So like if I were to do 2 attacks in your location, like somewhat comparable within power,
Mm.
uh, some like that's kind of like the loose definition of it. But
Yeah.
um, for heroes, like
Mm.
I try to cover like the heroes theme, and I guess Stain is a good one to talk about because he's an anti-hero. So I have, or for
Yeah.
me, he's an anti-hero. So I have a hero
Yeah.
deck and a
Totally.
villain
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah.
Um, when I'm making the hero version of it, I try to look at what that character can do, what that character's kind of like gimmick is. So Stain only has 2 abilities. First one kind of representing his ideology of like culling out the false heroes. So
Mm.
every hero shows their hand, and whoever has the fewest heroic actions has
Mm.
to take damage, and then Stain gets wild tokens based on however many people took damage, while
Yeah.
his other one just represents his power. Like he can attack a villain in his location, but instead of doing damage, he can prevent them from moving because his
Mm.
quirk is like if you taste the blood, you're
Yeah.
paralyzed for however long based on blood type.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm doing villains, rather than try to create like a perfect replica of a villain, for me personally, it's more fun to try to create a replica of like a specific moment.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
so
Oh,
you
that's interesting.
so with using Stain, and I was
Mm.
kind of I was thinking, well, you can kind of see the difference when because you sent me the Stained version that you were working on,
Yeah. I'll,
and
funny. I'll remind me to talk about that. But yeah, keep going.
but like when I was looking at like your Stain, I loved what you and I believe you were working with Diversion on that.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yep.
I
Yep.
loved the way you guys approached Stain
Mm.
reminded me of the way I approached him as a hero, where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
like it was just kind of encompassing everything Stain can do. Where
Mm.
my version of Stain was kind of encompassing. I was trying to recreate like that fight from the show, because in the show
Mhm.
he's targeting like yes he kills heroes,
Mm.
that is
Mm.
his thing.
Mm.
That
Mm.
moment in the show he was after one specific hero. He was after
Yeah.
Native, and then Ida
Yeah.
joins in. He deems
Yeah.
Ida's not worthy, so he targets Ida.
Yeah.
Midoriya and Todoroki are there, and while he is fighting them,
Mm.
his goal isn't to kill them. His goal is to kill Ida. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Todoroki even mentions that in the show, is like he fought us, but he was going after you to kill.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I went with like rather than doing, because the thought did occur to me, well, like, can I do the elimination? And when you get so many eliminations, but I was like, in the
Mm.
show, he's really only trying to kill Ida. So let's do the hunted token idea that
Yeah.
like uh, Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike both do. I was like, he'll pick which hero is the
Mm.
false hero based on whoever has the fewest heroic actions at the beginning of the game. They're the hunted hero. Stain is after that hero.
Yeah.
If another hero gets in his way, he'll deal with them. But the win condition is he eliminates that hero.
Yeah. Well, that's really it's there's so many interesting. I wish I should have brought like a notepad out because I've so many things you brought up there. First of all, it was so cool because like I love Stain as like he's just such a memorable character, and
One of
that
my
fight
favorites on the show.
that fight itself, one of my favorite moments of the show as well, and I've been enjoying the Vigilantes series as well, and I really enjoy that Stain is in that, and you get to see his backstory, and even in these later episodes of My Hero, you get to he sort of comes back a bit, and very cool, right? So I was like super inspired, and before you'd started sort of pumping out a few more of these characters, I thought, oh, I'd like to see that. So I thought, you know what, I'll see if I can sort of come up with an idea, and I thought, yeah, well, I'll get Diversion to help me and stuff. So we started working on him, and we were thinking about, oh, we were thinking about that whole idea of him having that sort of like trying to sort of challenge you to be a better, better hero,
Yeah.
and we had all these cool ideas and stuff, and we were having a lot of fun putting it together. And I play tested it the other day, and it absolutely did not work at all. So our system, like lots of cool ideas, and I'm sure if we went back to it and sort of, and especially actually if Diversion went back to it and had a look at it and tried to fix it up, I'm sure we could come up with like a version that worked. But it was just non-challenge. It was like the first time I've ever dabbled with it and gone, okay, let's just give this a shot, and it did not I just like there was no the way it all hung together just didn't work properly, and like I was able to just to sort of like avoid any damage, avoid any problem. It was just like just walked through and just smacked him out sort of thing, and done. It was like, oh, okay, that didn't work. And then you tried, and we talked in the meantime that you were working on one. I was like, oh, that's cool, we'll have two versions, and you dropped yours, and then I was like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, maybe we'll just shelve the other one. 'Cause that looks like everything that we need. It's all there, sort of thing. So I think it even had the same. I mean, as it would, right? The same rule for like what happens when he stabs you, like you can't move and all that sort of stuff. It was like, yeah, it
Yeah, I
was
think it was
cool.
for mine it was he deals 2 damage.
Yeah, and then
Um or 1 damage if the card you're discarding it has a heroic on it. But then yeah,
yeah,
if he damages you, yeah, you can't use a move action on
yeah,
that
yeah,
turn.
but And another thing about that, about him, that mission is, I've recently just played that off camera sort of thing, and it was amazing. And I love to do that. I love to take like the heroes and you know, I your character sort of thing, and just that character itself, like staying like that's what I want to do. I want to take Ida, I want to take Deku, I want to take Shoto and put them together, and I want to redo that fight. And it played beautiful, like it played perfectly. Like you, whatever you designed there, it perfectly reenacted that scene. It came up randomly that Ida had the least thing, so he was like the hunted hero. I was like, yes, yes. And then I even had it like Ida was going to be first because he was there first on scene, and my next player was Deku, and then my next player was Shoto, and then the whole thing played out very similar to that, where like um, uh, what's his name? Deku was trying to, you know, he's got that, you've got that cool ability where he sort of builds up over time. If you sort of, you're not using tokens, so you get extra cards, so you can build up your hand, become more powerful, sort of thing, to then be
Yeah,
able to discard them later. So he was building up, but he was doing it more to protect. Like he was building it up so he could be the shield to take damage when, and try to
yeah,
be in the same
intercept the hits for
locations.
Ida.
Yeah, and then that was sort of like hampering his ability to really go all out, and then they got separated, and then so, you know, eventually each of them had been hit once, and you know, and Ida was like very close to being out, but then like Shoto did some big flashy thing with his wall and like sort of blocked a thing, and then right at the end, Ida was the one who so the only thing was it kind of didn't finish exactly like the show, but Ida came in with like some super turbo, you know, that ability where you've got the with Ida where he can build up movement tokens, and then there's
Yeah,
one of
and
his abilities where he can like
for
use
every
movement
move he
tokens.
goes, he like punches in the location. I think it is.
It is either what made it useful was it was either punch or star, and because
Oh
he was the
yeah,
hunted hero, he could only deal damage with stars.
yeah,
So he came in at the end because he'd built up heaps, because a lot of the time he wasn't able to move because he was he had
yeah.
this thing on so, so at the end he had all these things, and he was able to sort of come scooting through and do a big, you know, super friendship talk to him, and like talk him down with his foot. So
The best kind of friendship.
yeah. But yeah, it was like, so, but it played perfectly. And coming back to that point, you said you like to create a moment or whatever. And what's really interesting is like my experience of the and I haven't played all your like you know, here's the problem we were talking about before. Like you're pumping out too many characters, so you got to slow
I'm
down, because like
sorry.
I'm not
No.
but like you know, I've played so many of your heroes, and what I really love is I find that the first couple of characters that I tried to make was I sort of very heavily went into the story or the plot of whatever moment that character was in, sort of thing. So my Cameron Hodge is all about the sort of like the betrayal and the sneaking around, and
Yeah.
that covering that whole sort of like X Factor sort of opening sort of story. And what I see, what resonated with me about like Buggy and was you're able to take those character moments, like Kuro with that sort of attack of the pirates coming up the beach sort of thing, running towards
To the mansion.
the mansion, you know, and the way you've got that unique sort of thing where the overflow sort of comes around like that. Um, you're able to sort of create those moments uh, while still retaining very core Marvel United gameplay, where it still feels like I'm playing um, a Marvel United villain out of you know, the actual, you know, the in-house designers playbook sort of thing. And whereas I feel like, you know, as much as I love that I was able to sort of come up with and I shouldn't say I did, because I had help from others as well, with Cameron Hodge, but I still feel like I sort of tried to be too clever with him, and so, you know, it's almost like there's too many different things going on and bells and whistles, whereas it's just so smooth. And it's another thing I really enjoy with Kanji's designs is all of his Marvel heroes really do feel like they could come from any of those 3 seasons that we've had already, sort of thing. You know, with they just feel sort of perfectly within it. It doesn't feel like we've lost Marvel United, because I think that's, like you said, it's a very clean, you know, easy system, and there's so much you can do with it. But also, I think the trick is not to go too far, so and you throw too many different things in and different rules, and then all of a sudden you're not playing Marvel United anymore. Like,
Yeah,
I,
I've actually had to, when I first started doing the My Hero stuff, one of the gimmicks that I had, quote unquote, was like the quirk cards,
hmm
which like the heroes themselves would
mm,
have, rather than like a small short ability, they would
yeah,
just kind of have like a keyword, and then
yeah,
like the card would have like an entire card worth of rules on how that keyword worked, and I liked it at the time. But then the more I replayed the same hero, like it kind of felt like I was just making the game complicated for no reason beyond making it complicated.
yeah, yeah.
That's what, like, I redid like Deku and Bakugo,
Bakugo, yeah, yeah,
where I was just like, I feel like I can take this card that is nothing but rules
yeah,
and simplify it to the point where it'll flow better. It's like
mm,
the identity of the character didn't change, the nature of the ability sort of changed, but
mm.
it went from like, okay, the card says this ability, what does this ability do?
Yeah.
Like like I think I still have two characters that in
Mm.
My Hero, Mount
Maybe
Lady and
the Mount
Uraraka.
Lady. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because Mount Lady, her cards just say gigantification, and then
Mm,
you have to
mm.
look at the cards and like, okay, here's what gigantification does.
Yeah.
Here's how to go about like if this situation happens, then so it's like how can I, like I still like the concept of the rules card, especially
Mm,
for explaining certain things. Like, but I want to try to branch to the like the rule cards rather than like just kind of explaining the rules. It'll and more like an FAQ card.
mm, mm.
So like the hero card can do the explanation.
Yeah.
I think a good example of this is Sentinels of the Multiverse Absolute Zero,
Mhm.
because he has the whole gimmick. Actually, and Todoroki, now that I think about it, where he
Mm.
has the, ironically, both of them are ice fire guys. They have the like the mode card similar to M from season 3,
Mhm.
where like it'll start on like it's separate from the deck. It's in front of you in mode A, and
Yep.
then due to X criteria flips to mode B. So all the rules you need to understand for that are on that card or on their cards, but then there's a
Mm.
rule reference card that might help, like, not explain it, but just simplify. Like, at the start of the game, you start with this card face up,
Mm.
and certain cards flip it face down. It's kind of like what you would post like on the wiki versus a rule
Yeah.
explanation of it.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Like, I
like
feel
a
like that kind of flows a little smoother.
yeah, it's kinda like a bit almost like the start setup thing from the villain on the back of the like, if
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
that, but you don't really need like, that's why it's on the back, you don't really need to keep going back to it, but yeah,
Yeah, and then
yeah, yeah.
I agree with what Helios just posted, where like the rule
Mm.
card is essential for certain characters, but like if
Yeah,
I can avoid using it, which is
yeah.
what I ended up going when I went back to Deku and Bakugo, which is like,
Mm. Yeah.
it's here, it works, I think it's fun.
Mm.
Can I get rid of it? And
Yeah.
and for both of them, I found that I can, so I did, um, without like compromising what the character did. Like Bakugo, at the end of the day, still did the same thing, where like his original version was like, for every sweat token
Mm,
plus
mm.
one. Like I
Yeah.
had like math equations on it. And I was like, why am I doing this when I can just say like, for every ability and for every one of your abilities, including this one, do X, Y, and Z.
Mm.
And so like he didn't really, some aspects of like the sweat token would be lost, but you gain just a much smoother play style. I feel like it worked better.
Yeah, yeah, and I know I definitely when you guys first started putting those out, and I think Helios added that as an option, having the rules card in
Yeah.
his template sort of thing. I know I was like, oh, everything's got to have rules, 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 and I've subsequently sort of tried to pare back, and
Yeah,
I think
like
I went back
that
and
was gonna be my gimmick for my hero,
yeah,
where every one of them would have a rule card.
yeah.
Like I did it
It's
for
quite
like Mount Lady, and then I went to Kamui Woods, and I'm looking at its quirk. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make a rule card
yeah.
for this guy.
Because that's it, right? Because I would, but it's cool because that was like the show, like they kind of like interrupt every whenever they introduce a new character, they go
Yeah,
boom, and they have a frame, and they go and they have the rule, the stats sort of thing, and it's kind of a cool thing. But yeah, so
yeah. I mean, like
um,
at the end of the day, some characters are gonna have it. Like it's
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah,
some
yeah,
people just have, like I think if I can avoid doing it, I will. But
yeah, yeah,
Tokoyami Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Tokuyami.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like
Like him.
I wanted to have a gimmick with him where the hero location and the two adjacent locations are in the sun, and
Oh,
the
okay.
villain location and the two adjacent locations.
Hmm.
Oop, that is the time I normally wake up. Uh, the villain location and the two adjacent locations are in the dark. So
Mm, mm.
depending on where Tokuyami is, like if he's in the daytime, like he can treat his punches as heroics. If
Yeah.
he's in the nighttime, his punches do extra damage, but he has to play his card randomly. He can't choose what he does.
Oh,
So
cool.
there's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
is there
yeah,
a way
yeah,
to do this without putting it all on a rules card? So like he's on the drawing board.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
he'll probably be sooner than later, but
yeah,
like
yeah,
if I can avoid doing like a rule card for that, like but that's one of the examples where like something like that might have to go on a rule card. But if
yeah.
I can avoid doing it, like I can see like two
Mm,
starting hand cards, one representing sun, one representing night, maybe
mm.
something like that.
Wonder if you could have like tokens that just have a so yeah, maybe still
Yeah,
needs
like
a rule
three
card,
sun
right? But
tokens, three night tokens.
and you just put them on the locations, and they just
Yeah,
literally have like a +1 attack symbol or a and a some sort of symbol. I think there is a new symbol for the random. I think in the new third season, there's a official symbol for like having to play randomly, like it's a new token or something like that. So you could just have those real easy reference, just
yeah,
symbols, and yeah, I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah, that's
That's
cool.
kind of
That's
like how
really cool.
everybody starts like a complicated mess that probably
Yeah,
gets explained on a rule card and then
yeah,
simplified into a non.
yeah,
Uh, Yeah, and Helios makes a good point again with like Frankie,
mm,
the cola fridge,
yeah.
very much kind of like it's a simple mechanic, but then you have the rule card just kind of add because you wouldn't be able to explain how that works on one card without making it an
Mm.
entire like without blocking the picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think let's have a look. Oh, yeah, I think that's the other thing I wanted to talk about was like just those designs as well. Like when I go through heroes, a couple of things about heroes actually, and we'll get onto it. But um, when you sort of do your heroes, one of the things that I find when I do my heroes, I tend to sort of they're very much like, oh, this character does this extra amount of attacks or this, whatever it is. But I really like how you're able to create these interesting ways that the deck itself plays almost that help create the feeling of how that character works or what that character's powers are and that sort of thing. Like we talked about the gear system where Luffy sort of powers up using these gear systems
yeah,
and Bakugo, sort of like building up the sweat and sort of building up the momentum as he sort of keeps going. Deku with his sort of like you know being able to throw a whole bunch of power in, but it sort of leaves him decimated with that sort of where he because I believe the character of Deku you've designed is sort of like meant to represent him when he's still learning his powers, right?
yeah.
Sort of thing?
So I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to at least so similar to how like there's like five Wolverines, like I
mm.
want to do multiple Deku and All Might specifically.
Yeah, yeah,
So the Deku that I currently have is like season one Deku, where
mm.
all he can really do is hit you really hard
Yeah,
and destroy himself in the process.
yeah,
And then the version of All Might I have is also early in the show where like his deck is actually kind of more like one of the decks that like tells a story
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
like
yeah.
he doesn't have like any like oh smash a villain for 3 damage. Like all of his cards are like you're looking for your next successor. You're looking for the ninth
Mm,
user. Place these tokens on the ninth user card. When you get to this many, choose another hero. That person is who you're giving your power to, and you give them all those tokens.
mm,
But I want to make like full cowling Deku, so Deku more toned back, but he has like
mm.
control of his power, but
Yeah,
can go over if needed.
yeah.
Uh, and then Vigilante, not Vigilante,
Mhm.
but like Dark Deku, I think is what like the
Yeah,
community
he's got
calls
all
him.
the stuff
Where
coming out of his hands and stuff.
yeah, but like now he has access to like all the other quirks
Mm, mm.
from All for One for All,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then for All Might I wanted because All Might is very much like all of his abilities are like these smash attacks, so I
Mm.
want to do like All Might like in his prime, like Silver Age All Might, but then I
Yeah.
also want to do Small Might like when he doesn't have his powers. Because
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
he's still a functioning hero sort of like
Mm.
he's still supporting Deku, so like
Yeah.
I want to make that one as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, I suppose, like you could even have a version of him where he's like a companion. You know, have Helios done a lot of companions for
Yeah,
thingy. That'd be an interesting thing too. And so that's the thing I really like about how, like, is there like have you got any insight into how you do that? Is that just something that you sort of just organically happens, or like
for
how do
like
you how do
keeping
you
like
create?
the theme.
Yeah, or like not just keeping the theme. Yeah, because I feel like lots of attacks is like that still captures the theme of Hulk or whatever, right? But how you're able to take a like, do you have insight from playing lots of card games or stuff like that, where you're able to sort of like the way that you play Monkey, oh sorry, Monkey D. Luffy, um, it makes you play in this sort of certain way where you're sort of you can't just sort of play those abilities whenever you want. You've got to be sort of thinking about, okay, when do I want to play this one? Like, what part of the game do I want to have like speed? What part of the game do I want to have extra attacks? And so building towards that moment late game where and how do I get that card that's at the bottom of my deck? Like, do I go in like Luffy and take some extra hits to bring that card up a bit quicker, sort of thing? Or Deku, like it fully plays, like you play that deck differently. Like you've got to sort of reserve yourself a little bit to build up those things, know when to play the big Delaware smash, and like, so yeah, like with those types of heroes and villains, like, is there some sort of way that you sort of go about it, or is it just like luck and happenstance and like?
It's, I mean, I guess both. um, 30 years of building Magic the Gathering decks.
Yeah, that's right.
So funny enough, when I first started doing this, I did
Mm,
not have that, and
mm,
it was something I quickly recognized. Where when I started making Naruto characters, I was kind of just absorbed in like the excitement of just making something. It's like
mm.
I took Naruto. I like looked at just like I opened, like I was like, okay, just give me like three abilities.
Yeah.
All right, Shadow Clone. I could put thing here, giving chakra. Like there was like there was really like a unifying theme
Mm,
to it. And when I played it, like it was fun. It it was definitely Naruto, but I didn't feel like I had a theme.
yeah.
I felt like every turn I was doing something different, not because I was choosing to, but just because that was the nature of the cards.
Mm.
So now when I'm making somebody, I either do one of two things, where I either try to have a unifying theme. So like
Mhm.
for Luffy, he has these different abilities, but they're tied together with that gear mechanic of you only get the
Mm.
most recent one until
Yeah.
gear 5, where you have all of them. Zoro is another uh, character that kind of fits
Mm.
in that same boat, where his attacks, like all four of his ability cards, do different things and have a different feel, but then they're unified by this gimmick of like three sword style, you discard down to three, two sword style, discard down or draw up to two, one
Mm.
sword style, draw
Yeah.
discard down to
I
one.
really like that.
Yeah, so, and that was the thing. Like, even though each of those abilities, like if you were to remove that first line, the character just feels different because now there's no
Mm.
longer that unifying theme.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I can't come up with a unifying theme, then I try to limit it to like multiple copies of the same ability. It's like
Okay.
Stain's hero deck doesn't have a unifying theme, but then he
Mm.
also doesn't have four different abilities. He has
Yeah.
two copies of two abilities each.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
Okay.
way they're kind of unified with each other. You're either going to be hurting your heroes to gain
Mm.
wild tokens, or you're going to be paralyzing your villains. It's not going to be
Mm.
four different things.
Yeah.
Um, at least that's kind of where I try to go for. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
if I'm going to try to make multiple different abilities, I want
Yeah.
to try to unify them together.
Yeah, yeah. Because I feel like what you just described there, like where you started, that like that's where I am. That's my
Yeah, and
design.
that's why I went back and
Yeah.
redesigned the original, like Naruto, because Naruto was the first stuff I
Mm.
made,
Yeah.
and I still have the original where Naruto,
Oh.
Hero,
Yeah, you should
Naruto
have the
Uzumaki.
have the two, the OG cards and the they'll be
Yeah, so
worth
like
a
if
lot.
you look at the so Naruto currently has four abilities, two copies each.
Hmm.
Multiple Shadow Clone, which is you can punch or heroic once in your location and once in each adjacent location. And then his other card is Rasengan, which is just 3 damage to a single enemy in your location.
Hmm.
So he has 2 copies of both. His old deck was multiple Rasen Shuriken, which is like attack a target in your location and both adjacent. So that's kind of what became the Shadow Clone. Share Chakra, which is just give a heroic token to another hero.
Mm.
And then 2000 combo, which is like 2 attacks in your location. So like each one of those kind of had like a different every time you played one of those, it almost felt like you were playing somebody different, just because
Mm.
it was so different from his other abilities without
Mm.
really anything kind of connecting to it. Like it was still a fun deck. I still enjoyed using it, but I am like the more I did this, the more I enjoyed kind of creating a theme throughout the deck, and then that just became more fun to do.
Yeah, yeah,
At least
yeah,
for me, anyway.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like yeah, I haven't awakened that that haki or whatever it is, in in One Piece. I haven't awakened that ability, but like it just yeah, it it seems like a really fun thing to be able to do. I know uh Diversion Architect, actually, his heroes that he's done for, actually, I think I've got a couple. Where did I have them? A couple here for what do they call it? Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah,
He's done like Mondo. I'll see if I can find Mondo. Just see. I printed them off recently, and like he's got some cool cards and stuff that really sort of make playing the deck sort of feel like fun. Like I think this is Master. Oh, I don't know if that's going to show up very nicely on the. Let me just take it out of the thingy there. Whoa. Is that back to front, or can you read? That's good, isn't it?
yeah,
So like you can draw 2 cards until the end of your turn. You may discard cards, but not your last. So like lets you sort of like cycle through. And he's got like 2 of those, and then he's got 2 of this uh one where he sort of like, I guess it represents him kind of like traveling through the earth or whatever, carrying sort of like survivors and stuff with him, sort of thing as well. So like this one again, sort of like feels like there's this sort of thematic way that you sort of play with it and that sort of stuff. But again,
yeah.
it's just two different uh, two different copies of the same thing, sort of thing. So that's kind of cool as well. But I think the other thing I'm interested to sort of talk about is like the how you go about with the balance and that sort of stuff, because I know I had a chat with Andrew about, like, when we were having that chat, and I was telling him, well, this is how you do all the home brewing and stuff. And I was saying like, oh, well, I heard it from somewhere that and would have been on the Discord somewhere that, well, most heroes have 16 tokens, 16 actions to 18, so I try and sort of fit them in between, maybe I try and aim for about 17, and then I know I've got a balanced hero, sort of thing. But um, it's, I've subsequently learning that it really depends. Like, certain abilities and stuff are going to be more valuable. So if you have these powerful abilities, you really should have even less symbols. And maybe what I thought was, I just sort of took it for granted that, okay, yeah, 16 to 18 seems to be the spread. Maybe there's a bigger range that I'm aware of in the, because I haven't actually gone and done the research to look up all the um,
Ironically,
hero
Helios
cards and
has.
check it out. Yeah, yeah.
So Helios, I don't remember what you called it, but he has
Mm,
like an Excel sheet that
mm,
lists like every hero, how many
yeah,
actions each one
that's what I'm going to
has.
check out.
And like I have that document on my
Oh,
computer
really? That's
where
what
it's like, so like the hero with the fewest moves is 2, the most moves is 12, average is 4.39, fewest attacks is 1, highest attacks is 11. So, so like I wrote down the ranges because I'll reference that every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so typically like if I'm making somebody, like I'll look at an existing hero just to kind of look at, and right now I'm looking at, let's say, Iron Man.
Mm,
So I'll look at how many symbols Iron Man has. Iron Man has uh, two single action cards that don't
mhm,
have an ability, 3 single action cards with abilities, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards with 2 abilities, and then the one wild and the double wild. And then his cards distribute 2 tokens, draw until you have 3. So then I would kind of ask myself, what's like the comparable number of actions to that? Like, would it be 2 because you're distributing 2 tokens? Would you say like 3 because you're distributing tokens which can be used at any point? So then if I were to make a character and use kind of Iron Man for reference, I would try to use the same, like, not necessarily the same actions, but the same action
Mm.
number.
Number,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
and then for the powers, whatever power I'm making, try to make it comparable in its value to
Mm.
to the hero, because you know this, like, I don't really have any issue with Iron Man. I don't think Iron Man is too strong or too weak. So if I made something within like that same power range, even if I did it like a little stronger, I think that's fine.
Mm. Mm.
Um, like, I think there is like a line between strong and overpowered.
Mm.
Uh, and I don't want to say it's hard to cross that line. You can easily make something that's overpowered,
Yeah.
and
Well, that yeah.
you can always scale back to. I've done that a couple times where, like,
Mm.
I'll make something at first and it's like, yeah, it's done, it's fun, I like it, and then I'll go back and I'm like, I think I'm gonna change this.
Well, that's what I'm see that's I've sort of hit this point now where I'm like I was happily going along and everything was hunky dory sort of thing, and then I had like this sort of big hit to my confidence because we I shouldn't say we the One Piece stuff was sort of put up on BGG, and like the first comment or something was like, oh yeah, I've had a brief look at these things, and the oh, these are all way too overpowered, and the designers need to like rein themselves in, and they're not disciplined enough, and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, wait. It's like, oh no, yeah. It's like, oh, no, they hate my stuff, they hate our stuff, and
If I remember correctly, I think Helios was trying to is designing them to be kind of like their own game anyway, so I don't think they were
mm,
meant to
mm,
be comparable
yeah,
to United. And like, even with like the One Piece stuff that I made, like, in general, I try to make my stuff comparable. Like, it might be a
mm,
little stronger, but I wouldn't say overpowered.
mm,
Um, I personally play them alongside Marvel United stuff.
yeah,
The One Piece stuff I make, I feel like, is a mix of both, because at this point,
mm,
like, anything I'm making in One Piece is made, yeah, somewhat compatible. It is
yeah,
made with the intention of going with Helios's tabletop simulator, like that set.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
like I like I'm not trying to make my own. Like, yeah, so he has his One Piece stuff. Here's mine. If you're looking for something to compare, that's not my goal.
mm,
My goal is whatever I make is probably going to be put in the same area as his.
mm,
So I
mm,
want to make something that kind of matches that power level, even if that means, it's not going to be necessarily fully compatible with the regular Marvel United. But then
yeah,
anything else that I'm doing, Sentinels, Castlevania, yada yada, the goal is to have it
mm,
in line, because I personally, like, I have an Excel sheet randomizer that
mm.
has all of Marvel United and my homebrew stuff in there.
Oh,
So
nice, yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'll play them together, and then when I test them out, I'm testing
mm,
them, like, usually whenever I'm testing something together, Game Strong.
yeah,
Usually
yeah,
when I'm testing something, the thing I'm testing is the only homebrew there. That way
yeah,
I can compare, like, if it's a hero, they're playing alongside normal Marvel United heroes. That way I
mm,
can see, like, okay, well, when I play this guy's turn, I
mm,
feel like I'm contributing, but when I'm playing my homebrew character, I feel like I'm under contributing or I'm over contributing, and I'm
mm,
fighting like a normal United villain. I'm like, well, I'm destroying this villain, so clearly something is wrong. And then
yeah,
vice versa, when I'm testing the villain, I'll do like a 2, a 3, and a 4 player test,
yeah,
all against standard Marvel United characters, so I can see where that feel is.
mm, mm,
Uh, and then once I've kind of done a couple rounds, then I'll like mix and match, and I'll do like thematic battles with people within the same universe. But for the
mm,
testing, I usually test against like the already existing content, because
yeah,
that's, for me, that's my benchmark. That's where I'm trying to reach. Whether I'm a little bit above or a little bit below isn't too much of a concern, because even the stuff within United is like that. Not
yeah, yeah,
everybody's to the
exactly.
same balance. Some people are
Mm.
like, Lady Deathstrike is very hard.
Yes.
um, but
She
then there's
is.
some characters who you just kind of breeze through. Like I don't think I've
Mm.
ever lost to the Red Skull. Like,
Yeah.
um, so like as long as I'm within that range,
Mm.
then if as long as I'm within that range, the fun value matters more to me than being
Mm.
in the middle of that range. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
with being a little bit at the top of that range if it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that's important, isn't it? Like, because yeah, I sort of worry that I think this there was sort of similar criticisms of the brute force stuff. It was like I shouldn't say. I mean, it was criticism, but like, it's good because it's like feedback, right? Like that's one thing that being a pretty niche world within a niche game within a niche, a hobby sort of thing. We don't get a huge pool of playtesters and stuff, but
yeah,
I've received some comments from about the brute force stuff that some of these characters are too powerful. Or this character's like flat out the most powerful character in the entire game, sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe okay, got to go back to drawing board on that one. But uh, yeah, it's interesting just trying to get my head around like what do I want to get out of the characters, because I know that I probably come at the game in terms of the power level and stuff from a different point of view from a lot of people, because I see so many comments that are like, you know, zero wild cards. Wild cards are for losers. Don't use wild cards. Blah 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 blah, and all this sort of stuff. And like, oh, got to be, hardcore mode. Which and fair enough. Like, because I can see, like the whole idea of like those sort of dilute the characters and take out the, if you take those out, then you really those actions that those characters have been given mean so much more, because that's all you're going to get, sort of thing. You're
yeah,
only going to get so many movements and stars and all that sort of stuff. But for me, I don't know if it's because I'm not that good at the game, but like I always enjoy just uh, playing with those in, like, especially I play a lot with my kids and stuff.
yeah.
But
No,
if I'm being
I'm in the
honest,
same boat.
if I'm being
I
honest,
don't think I've ever
I just
taken out the
enjoy
wild
winning
cards
too,
yet.
But
I think I've
like,
taken out the wild cards if I'm playing specifically like the hard challenge, because that's what the hard
yeah,
challenge is, to take it. But like, I
yeah,
don't do
yeah,
it as like a judge full of facts.
yeah, yeah. So I wonder if I'm kind of designing things, my hero's too powerful or my villain's too weak, or um, and yeah, it's just an interesting thing to me, is like the that balance, like you said, of like how do we sort of get that the feel just right? How do we know when we've got it at the right sort of pitch? And I was
Yeah,
going to ask you how much play testing you do. So it's interesting to hear that, like, yeah, so you make sure you do like the 2, 3, 4,
yeah.
and
It's a little different depending on if I'm testing a hero versus a villain. Heroes,
mm,
for me, I find are a little easier to test
yeah,
because just the nature of heroes, unless you're going to be filling them with abilities, they're like as long as if you're making them comparable, like if every
mm,
ability is like the equivalent of like two, maybe three actions, then it's probably going to be hard to make a broken villain unless you're just like all wilds.
yeah, yeah,
Villains are a bit more in depth, so
mm.
and Nor, if he's still here, can attest to this because I usually spam him with my thoughts while I'm testing my villain. But like I'll do the 2-player test, the 3-player test, the 4-player test. I'll track how many KOs there were. I'll
Mm.
track how many overflows there were. I'll obviously track if it was a win or a loss.
Oh, wow, okay.
If it was a loss, how much health did the villain have left? If
Mm.
it was a win, how many master plan cards were left? I can't confirm this is true.
Okay, okay.
It's like I'll track all of these different numbers, and that way I can ask
Mm.
myself what needs to be changed. So and like I'll looking at Shigaraki, for example.
Mm.
Uh, after I was testing, like I just told Nora, half the time he's asleep when I'm testing these things, so I don't get responses. But it helps me to like just see my own
Yeah.
thoughts. So I was like, okay, I need to clarify how Wing Nomu and Kurigiri work.
Mhm.
I put like KO gives a crisis token. The original version was Shigaraki moved to the next location that had any heroes and bammed again.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, why not destroy everything? Now moves to the location with the most heroes and bams. Previously, he moved to the location with no heroes and didn't bam. He just put the crisis token on the location.
Mm.
And so like when I was doing this first round of tests, I'm like, I'm beating him. I'm beating him, and he still has over half his master plan card deck, so he's clearly not dangerous enough.
Mm.
And it was consistent, like the 2-player, 3-player, and the 4-player test, all beat
Yeah.
him
Okay.
without getting KO'd, and with having like 7 to 8 cards left in the master plan deck. I'm like, all right, too easy.
Yeah.
So then I tweak some of the cards. Like if I can get at least, if it's a damage focused villain, I want at least one or KOs equal to like maybe half the number of players. I feel like is a
Yeah.
good balance.
Mhm.
Um, if it's like if it's not a damage like Kurogiri has never KO'd anyone in my test, but he's also not damage focused for me.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
trying to think. I'm trying to think if I've got some stats for you there. I'm like, did I get KO'd in
yeah,
that?
like all of my tests with Kurogiri did not KO anybody,
Mhm.
but Kurogiri's threats were the overflows.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
in my let's see, here's my notes for the Kurogiri. So my
Mhm.
2-player test I did with Warlock, Invisible Woman. It was a victory. He only had 2 master plan cards left, and there were 3 overflows. Uh, the 3-player test was like Shuri, Havoc, and Black Cat. It was victory on the literal last turn, and he overflowed 5 times.
Yeah.
So it's like all of my tests were like, we're winning, and
Yeah.
we're winning like by the skin of our teeth. Like it is a
Mhm.
consistent close match, and that
Yeah.
was like I like the way this feels. Like the fact that like each one was like, can I pull it off? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was always up in the air. So like I was very happy with where Kurogiri was. He didn't
Yeah.
need as many like tweaks. Like I think Shigaraki, I had to go back and forth like 3 times to get him
Mm.
where he currently is.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And Kanji, I
Kanji's
test 2, 3, and 4 as
two,
well.
3, and 4, and Helios test. I almost never test 2. That's interesting. To be honest, all the villains are designed for 3 and 4. Okay, so that's interesting as well. So, um, yeah, because I sort of wonder in the broad scope of like people that play the game, like do they generally play at do most people play it, whether they're playing solo or not? Like, do they play 3 player? Do they play 2? This or that as well. That's interesting as well. And sometimes depending on the nature of like the villain you've come up with, it can be quite tricky to balance. Because often it's just like, okay, well this villain's got more health as you go down go up the player count track. But when you've got things like how many locations need to have a crisis token on them, or this or
Yeah.
that, how do you balance that?
I'll so
How does that work? Yeah,
for
with
that, I'll use. I'll so similar to when I was talking about how I do heroes, where I'll usually like reference an existing hero. I'll typically do the same with villains, where I'll pick a villain and reference like their speed and their health,
mm,
and kind of compare like, okay, this is how much power this villain has, and he has this health. Like
mm,
I'll try to dissect why the existing villain works as is, and then kind of do the same thing. Um, and sometimes it works spot on, sometimes it's over the top, sometimes it's way under. But then that's where
mm,
the testing comes in, because I can always build something up or lower something down. It just comes
yeah,
down to what needs the changing. Like
mm,
Kurogiri, like I said, doesn't do a whole lot of damage because he just kind of moves to where he is and then sends people to the opposite if he lands on them. So
yeah,
which means all of his damage is reliant on him landing on your location. If he doesn't land on your location ever, he's not going to do any damage to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like he doesn't really gain anything from damaging you, because he
Mm,
has so many ways to flood the locations and make them overflow. So clearly that's his win condition. So that's where the focus of his power should be.
yeah,
It would be like if you had like the tracker, like the 1 to 20. If you get to 20, you
right.
lose. Like
Hmm,
if that's going to be your gimmick, then that's where your power should be. Like
yeah,
if like why would overflow like deal a bunch of damage to a hero when he if you're not damage focused? So
yes, yeah, yeah,
same goes for Kurogiri. If Kurogiri wants to overflow locations and play face down master playing cards, he doesn't also need to just KO people on every turn.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. And although sometimes and I don't know if this comes up with many of the heroes, or sorry, many of the villains in the base game or whatever. But I think sometimes I've sort of tried to like I'll try and put a couple of different things in, sort of contrary to what you're saying there, just because like to try and give a few different ways for the game to go.
Yeah,
Like so,
and that's fine.
like
Some of my villains do that.
yeah,
Uh, and in the event that that happens, then I need to factor that in too. Where
yeah, yeah,
if Kurogiri has more reliable way to deal damage, then I probably want to scale back how quickly he can also overflow.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
if him just going off of overflows is bringing us to like final
yeah.
turn,
Mm,
then
mm, mm.
if he also had cards that like landed on the location, then he would just always win. Uh, some villains have like top of deck and bottom of deck
Mm,
cards,
yeah,
so that's their version of like starting hand.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, so like it's
Mm,
fine to have focus because some
mm, mm,
villains do where even if they have like the track and
mm.
like their bam will increase the track, their overflow will increase the track,
Yeah,
their KO will increase the track, stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So like they're not reliant on any
Mm,
one or two methods. So
yeah.
it'd be just like if you're going to be spread across multiple win conditions or multiple methods, then you just want to make sure that they would be as comparable. Where if you only focused one,
Mm. Yeah, I think normally when that's come up, it's usually like the where they play the face down, um, racing the track sort of thing. So sometimes it's like, okay, what's going to get you first? The racing the cards, not racing the tracks, sorry. Where they play the master plan cards face
yeah.
down sort of thing, or and that sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah, it's like
uh,
what is your win condition? I guess like that would
mm,
be that's kind of
mm,
like what I tend to ask myself, like looking at like all of my Castlevania stuff, for example, and trying to create like a specific moment. Like Dracula wanted to eradicate all of the humans, so I had like an extinction tracker. So kind of like my focus was to make it so he doesn't care about you. Like
yeah,
if you're with him, you're just in his way. His
hmm,
goal isn't to go to you. His goal is to just fill that tracker up and get rid of humans.
yeah.
Versus
Oh, that's cool. Mm,
Carmilla, who also kind of wants like that world domination thing, but she's way more aggressive about it, and like she will fight you. She will
mm,
damage you and KO you. And even if you get the final blow on her, she's going to explode and maybe take you out with her. So it's like,
yeah, yeah.
what is like, what is the feel you're going for? What is the theme you're going for?
Mm.
So
Yeah,
on and
that's
so
really
forth.
cool. I really like. Yeah, I think this has been really, and I hope it's been really helpful for folks listening. Um, yeah, to sort of like just to hear that way of sort of like focusing on it and thinking about it, and like being really okay. This is this is almost like the story you're trying to tell, um, via the win condition sort of thing, and so everything should be sort of driving that. Everything should be sort of like contributing towards that. That's cool. I like it.
Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of times it's not going to be you're not going to end where you started.
yeah, it's true. That's true.
like
Yeah, yeah.
I have some heroes who drastically changed over the course. Like I think All for One
Hmm.
uh, had many like iterations to kind of get to like the feel that he currently was. Even Stain, prior to when you and me were talking about him,
Hmm.
like I had a couple ideas in mind. Like his BAM, I think originally was going to be how the hero version worked, where his BAM was every hero reveal their hand.
Mm,
Whoever
mm.
has the fewest heroics takes the damage.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so like in it just kind of it just naturally evolves until you kind of get something that you're happy with.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but
yeah,
having like a unified theme
yeah.
for me helps me get
Yeah.
from A to B. I guess would be the best way to say it.
Mm. I think that's cool because I think I'm trying, like and it's good to sort of hear your thoughts and try and sort of reinforce what I'm trying to go for as well. Like, because I know, I I with the Street Fighter stuff, as I've been seeing the characters, more and more of the characters coming out through Big Head Chibis, I'm thinking, okay, it looks like they're going to do all of them. So like, okay, I've got to like get all these guys done sort of thing. And so I've had in my mind Balrog, who the one I'm talking about is the boxer, right? Like,
Yeah,
so I know there's
yeah, like the
apparently in
Mike
one of the
Tyson guy.
yeah, so apparently in one of the versions, because I always thought that the story I heard as a kid was that Balrog's real name was M. Bison, because it makes sense, right? Because Mike Tyson, M. Bison, right? And then that Balrog was M. Bison's name, and that somehow there was like some, they got mixed up in the translation of additions from Japanese to English or whatever, and it got mixed up. But then apparently it's actually no. Apparently Balrog was actually Vega's name or something. I don't know, but like when I tried to look it up on Wiki the other day, it was like I got even more confused. But anyway, I'm talking about the boxer, right? So I was thinking, because I started having ideas for him, and I thought, so, and then just recently they announced they've got a new model for him coming out, sort of thing. So I was like, oh, okay, I've actually got to get serious and like put him together, sort of thing. But for ages it was like I had all these different, because boxer, right? So I was like, okay,
Yeah,
boxer, okay. And so, but I had all these different ideas for like what was the story I wanted to tell with the boxer. Was it like, did I want it to be like all about winning the crowd over, and like it's all about sort of like you're going around and you're converting thugs into civilians, and you're trying to get more and more people filling the seats in that section, sort of thing, and when you fill the seats like that, you win that location, or whatever it is, or was it like you're trying to do boxing moves and like all these sorts of things. And then I sort of came back, and it was similar to Sagat. I also, when I first started looking at him, it was all about researching Mai Tai moves and all this sort of stuff. And then I was like, no, bring it back to like what I want to capture with these
yeah.
villains is like the feel of fighting them in the game, right? So it was like dodging and weaving those bloody tigers that he's
Which I
shooting at you.
love that mechanic. I was like,
I don't know.
and I think I told you that's actually what inspired how Stain ended up as. I didn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
do it
yeah.
the exact same because I think your way was like if it's a high,
Uh,
you either take the damage or reveal. I think it was like a move.
yeah,
You
was it
reveal a
reveal?
move, put it at the bottom of the deck, and then draw another card. Which
Yeah.
like I liked that, but then like I wasn't a fan of the put at the bottom and draw another
Hmm.
card. So I changed
Yeah.
it to 2 damage or
Hmm.
1 damage if you're getting rid of the qualifying card,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to like to lessen the effect rather than take the full brunt.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and that's kind of like my favorite thing with like I love this like homebrew
Hmm.
community. I love looking at everybody's things, especially because you see so many unique mechanics. Like seeing kanji and the kanji just kind of reminded me of his
Tiger, yeah.
Mephisto, I think it was that he just
Oh,
showed us.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like I love that mechanic of like he's got the like special ability, move, attack thing, and like he rotates which one you don't have access to.
Which that's another one with this bloody Balrog, right? So I've been going through all these different things, and I almost ripped him off.
I mean that's
Because
that's like it's
I
it's
saw,
an it's an inspiration community. Like we
yeah, that's right. Because I saw because I was thinking like, okay, boxer, right? Left, 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 right, sort of thing. So I was like, oh, I'll have a track, and it's like every time he attacks, like all of his bams, it's like,
he's
hey,
giving you his blessing.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, okay, he does a bam, he hits you for 1 damage. The second, and then you move the thing across. His next bam, he hits you for one, and then he's like, um, third time he bams, he hits you for like with the right hook. It's like left, 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 right, sort of. So it's like, and it just
Yeah,
keeps cycling around. So that was one iteration, sort of thing, and then um, I sort of, but then I've come back to, but I also had this idea. I wanted to have like, okay, it's a boxing match, right? So you're trying to knock each other out, and like the count out. So I had all these ideas about like, how am I going to do that? It's like, you take it. Maybe you got to take him out. Maybe he's got really low health, but you got to take him out multiple times. But the idea is like each time you take him out, the count out goes longer. So like you have some sort of
every hero
star.
gets their own like 1 to 10 track.
Yeah, something
Every
like that.
time they're
Yeah,
KO'd, move the track up.
right.
When it gets to 10, they're down for the 10 count.
That's right. Yeah. So I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, am I going to have it like the count out for the heroes and for the
Oh
villains
man, I
and all
like
this
that
sort of stuff?
ability shit.
So,
What have I done?
so yeah. So I've eventually come to. So I haven't. I'm not quite there yet, but I played a game of it and it was fun and it worked, sort of thing, sort of, right? So
Yeah.
I kept, because I'd put so many things in it, I kind of was making a lot of just basic rules mistakes. So I'm not sure how valid my results were, but I've ended up with a track, like a KO track, or a count out track, but it's only for him, right? So he still does a lot of
Hmm.
damage to you and stuff like that.
Oh, I like that.
Takes
So
you out.
you have to get him down for the 10 count.
You're trying to take him out for the 10 count, and the way it works is that um, he's got no health, but he starts vulnerable and under pressure, except I forgot that he starts under pressure, and I played my whole first thing where he wasn't under pressure until I, completed 2 missions. So now I'm like, oh, how am I
That
going to work it?
happens.
How am I going to work it that he's like vulnerable, but he's also not under pressure from the start? But I'll have that. That's something that's for future Dan to worry about. But the idea is that he, you basically, he's got no health, so you do all these attacks, and every attack that you land on him, you get to flip a card off the top of your deck, look at it, and for every star that gets revealed that way, you rise up the thingy. But then all of his overflows drop him back down the thingy. Plus, I've managed to get the crowd support thing into it. All the crowd locations start flipped. Basically, if there are more bad guys in the location, every one of those locations also drops the thing back. So what you've got to do is get more civilians into the location, flip it over, which then flips the card over to its other side, which has no negative effect, but it's got 3 stars on it. So then you can clear it, and if you can clear that location, then it's your fans in that stadium.
Yeah.
From then on, sort of thing. So that's where I'm kind of at. But it's fun. Like, it's been really funny, sort of. I had so many different ways, and what story did I want to tell with Balrog? Like, how did I want to capture him as a boxer, but also that fight? So I've sort of brought his fight more into it with his special moves, where he's got like the turnaround punch, which is just like a massive hit sort of thing. And then I've got it's not really a move from the game, but I've got like the boxing thing where I've got like the rope-a-dope, so where he's sort of like he's up against the ropes, and every time you do an attack against him, he gets to basically, you're tiring yourself out, so you take a damage at the end of your turn, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
all that sort
Honestly,
of
that's
stuff.
like one of the most funs is just coming up with the ideas. Like
Yeah, and
even if they'll never see it, like who was it? Like Twice and Himiko Toga. I think were like 2 characters that I have like in like early design stages.
oh yeah, yep.
And once they're in early design stages, it's kind of like throw anything at the wall. Like I think like like the concept that I have in Twice, I have no idea if it'll actually be like this whenever I finally make him. But Twice was just like every threat card was a Twice. All 3 missions were gonna be Twice duplicates of like the heroes because he can make duplicates of
Oh,
whoever.
awesome. Yeah, yeah, yep.
I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but like that was like the early brainstorm process. While Himika Toga, I had like this crazy idea where like instead of like the 0 to 5 movement, she had like really high numbers because she doesn't move the locations, she moves the villain civilian slots.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Yeah, yeah.
and so once again, don't know if that's how she's going to end up being. That's very like
Yeah.
both of those are very early design stage, but those were
Mhm.
just kind of like if I were to do it like right now, what's the idea that's in my head? And like those were the
Yeah.
2 that came up, and I was like, probably not how it's gonna be, but that's a good place to start.
It's fun to try it out, right? It's fun
Yeah,
to sort of just get in and muck around and play with it.
yeah. Like a
Um,
lot of times it'll just come out like too complicated, and then you simplify it. Like
yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
for all for one. Originally, he put the DNA tokens on your special ability cards in the storyline, and then when I was testing it, I came running into a bunch of like situations where like, oh, I need to clarify that you can't take the face up card back; it doesn't
Mm,
count as a face up card. And then when his ban is based on how many of the DNA tokens, so I had to keep counting in the storyline. I was like,
mm,
okay, for simplicity's sake, he flips the card face down, which eliminates the question of does it still count as a special ability because now it's face down,
mm.
and then
Yeah,
the DNA token goes on the dashboard because now that it's all in one location, it's easier to count,
easy count.
and like
Yeah,
that
okay.
that simplified it so much more.
Yeah, that's yeah. Like we've got I think we've got on the shelf still, Dave and I, ages ago, for Dango in the Discord, is a big fan of Sleepwalker, and we've had some ideas for like how do we have him like, and I think the original idea I had for this was also came from Andrew Fantasia, who talked about, I think maybe is it Uatu, the Watcher or something, and this
Yeah.
idea of having like traveling around the storyline. Because back when I first was thinking about this is when I was still I was just in love with playing with the storyline, right? Because I think I must have seen some rules they were showing in the season 3 thing about something playing with the storyline, and that's what sort of inspired me with the Cameron Hodge thing, right? So everything's about the storyline.
Yeah.
And but like, how do you interact? Like, how do you have a character that maybe travels along the storyline rather than on the board, or how do you have a character that interacts and maybe puts tokens on it that can move around? Like, we're still sort of coming up with ideas around that. It's kind of fun too. I noticed in the comments there, Sin said combo, you know, and I think literally that was going to be one of the names of one of my cards was combo. And Kanji's given me some advice there, which I will write down, and we will we'll have a play with that, 'cause that looks kind of cool. Like, he can have like unlocking different techniques and stuff there, which is cool too. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
there's so much like it's the homebrew community in general. Like, it's out of all the communities that I've been part of, it's probably my favorite one. Like, just
mm,
the ideas that everybody comes up with. One
yeah,
thing that I don't know when I'll get to it, but for it's like each universe that I do has kind of like an end goal. And for
yeah.
Pathfinder, one of the things that I'm really excited to eventually get to is the season 3 campaign decks.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Pathfinder releases a bunch of like actual adventures, and I want to do the campaign decks.
Mm,
And one like a thought that occurred, which I would obviously talk to the people before I do so, is like I would like certain like the like main villains and like the iconic villains of whatever the adventure is, I would make. So for like Voz, like the one villain I have for Pathfinder right now is like the main villain of like the first part of Age of Ashes. But then there's a bunch of like mini fights that would lead up to that. And
mm,
rather like and for those, if I was using the campaign decks, I would either do like existing Marvel United villains, or I would talk to homebrew creators to like, hey, can I include your like the first one that came to mind is like the first fight in Age of Ashes is against the fire elemental, and it's not a signature villain, it's not like a major baddie. It's just
mm,
like you're in this townhouse, you're attending a meeting, the building catches on fire because it's being attacked by fire elementals. I was like, if it doesn't feel right making a villain for just a generic fire elemental, but I was like,
mm.
what if I asked Kanji, hey, can I use your pyro villain
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like the
Well, here
first
you go.
fight of yeah, like,
We'll see what he
so it's
says in the chat.
like what if it's just like between other homebrew creators or actual United villains leading
Mm,
up to whatever the main villain is.
mm.
Yeah, I have his blessing. I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. You can't change your mind. But like that was the thought. Was like, how can I
Mm,
recreate these fights without creating a villain for
mm,
literally every creature that
mm,
doesn't deserve its own? Why would I make like a level 1 fire elemental generic common villain? Like, it's not worth making an entire villain fight for it when I can
mm,
just take an already existing fire themed villain, maybe replace one threat card with like a fire elemental threat card, but
mm.
I don't need to create the entire fight. And I was like, well, there's Dormammu, and then there's like Pyro, Toad, and Blob. I was like, oh
Yeah.
wait, Angie made a Pyro. Like, if I can get him to say yes, then I have a starting point.
Yeah. I think that was because Diversion Architect's also done um like, he's working. That's part of his Age of Apocalypse stuff. Is he's doing a campaign as well with that.
Yeah,
I think I think he said before that he's got a similar idea, where there are certain, like, he likes the idea of like certain heroes, if there's like, sorry, villains, if there's already something that exists, like, not worrying necessarily about designing each different thing, like, being able to take something that already exists and sort of just put that in and have it as a sort of representative of generally what the feel of that sort of boss would be like, or whatever, if
yeah,
it's not important enough for its own sort of thing. Yeah, so that's yeah, definitely a good idea. And, and as we've discussed, we've got so many balls in the air and stuff that,
yeah. And
any little thing to help with that would be good. So
it would also just be kind of cool to expose people to like a just more content
mm,
creators, b get
yeah,
more testing in, because that was one
yeah,
of the things we were talking with. I forget his name in the Discord, but
mm,
he's been posting on the wiki like
mhm,
his like he'll test stuff out and then he'll post on there.
yeah,
And like it's and like I think both me and Helios were talking to him, is like it's greatly appreciated because
mm,
we make so much stuff, but not a lot, like, and obviously we test our own stuff, but a lot of it doesn't
mm.
get like feedback from people who've actually played it. Like I love, that's one of the reasons I love your
Yeah.
videos, because you're playing, you're talking about them.
Mm.
Anytime you're talking about mine, like I'm taking notes on the things you're saying.
Oh,
So
cool.
if I so and so it's just great to to hear that and see that,
Mm,
because obviously if you're testing your own stuff, you kind of have
mm.
blinders on, because like how it works,
Yeah, yeah.
which also means you know how to go around it. So
Mm,
something that might be unnecessarily hard might not be hard to you, because you already know how it works and you could probably play around it. So it's really
mm.
good to get just like a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and Kanji agrees. Like having someone who didn't make it play it and tell you what they think, whether or not you agree or disagree with the feedback is irrelevant. But just having that feedback, because like there's been things I said like I agree with and I'll change, and then there's things like I don't necessarily think I need to.
Mm,
But just having that feedback it
mm.
is great, because otherwise, something that could be top tier remains mid tier just because you didn't have any exposure to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
and yeah,
yeah. Well, that's good to hear that. Like, because that is sort of like one of the pretty much the goal of my channel at the moment is basically just to get your stuff out, guys. Like, to get more eyes on it. However few eyes my little channel can show, but at least it can get more, and hopefully um, that can sort of get that out there, and it's I hadn't even considered the benefit of also just I guess it's silly not to think that this would happen, but yeah, for you to like you're hearing sort of real time, playtesting sort of notes, like you're hearing what I'm thinking, and I think that's something I try, because I know my videos are long and rambling and that sort of thing, but I am reluctant to sort of go in and edit them, to shorten all the gaps where I'm thinking, going, yeah,
I
because I
mean
think it
it's
kind of
good to
shows
hear.
the difficulty of, because I try to do as much sort of stream of consciousness as I'm thinking through the decisions and stuff, but I also think it's good to hear like, or at least see when I'm stumped, like when I'm sitting
Yeah,
there
no,
thinking, yeah,
especially when it just comes to less balance and more just like rule clarification. Like it's like regardless on if I feel that it makes sense, if somebody else is playing it and it doesn't make sense to them, then clearly I can do a better job of it.
mm, mm.
Um, and I, what is his name? Like, it is
I
driving me
think is it
crazy. It's like
there's is it
Anselm or something like that.
is it Angel or is it Martin
Wait,
Martin? There's
uh,
one, I think Angel or Ain. Forget.
Anyel,
Yell.
Anyele,
Yeah.
Anyel. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Oh, so
but
Martin.
but yeah, he
He's the
gave
one who.
feedback recently for Axe Hand Morgan, where he was just
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, no, like, especially because in his case, English isn't his first language,
Mm,
so he wasn't sure. It was like, yeah, I played it this way. The way it's worded doesn't really make sense to me. And then he like parenthesis English isn't my first language. And then he's just like, shouldn't it be like this? I'm like, well, no, that's not how it would work. He's like, oh, I misunderstood. Well, then how
mm,
about this? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, and that helps clarify it. So then I went back and made the changes for it. So
mm,
there's even things like if it doesn't like I see it's a double perspective. I can see whether or not it's balanced based on somebody else's playthrough, but then I can also just see if it makes sense and doesn't need to be clarified.
mm. I was also very disappointed that happened because I just printed those cards too, and I was like, "Oh God damn it, it's going to change this."
Well, at the very least, like it doesn't play the same. It's just I feel bad anytime I post something like I'll get a message from you like I'm literally on my way home. I just printed a bunch of stuff, and then you just released like two things.
No, I've got. So that's the thing. I'm so excited to get all this stuff printed. I've got to slow down because I've got to give it time for playtesting and stuff. But like, 'cause I also feel bad because there's a bunch of my stuff that I know I'm gonna have to like, and Helios, if you're still there in the comments, I'm gonna have to hit you up for like maybe seeing if you can send me the files for what's the fish guy Arlong, because there's some changes I want to make to Arlong, his villain mode. I play tested him a while ago with Dave, and we um, sort of worked out some different sort of just some little nothing major but little tweaks to sort of like make him a little bit harder and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't actually have the files for Arlong. I think because I think if I'm remembering right, I think that was the first
Yeah, because you were doing
One
it off
Piece
of like
villain I did, I
the
think.
Google sheet, I think,
Yeah, and I
and
just
then
sent
Helios made
my
it.
rough notes for my poor old Helios had to decipher my rough. I think they were almost handwritten notes or something, and he put together. I couldn't believe it when I was like, oh my god, look how good this looks! It's like so good. So thank you so much for putting that together. But I might need to make some like a version 2.0 or something, or at least a 1.2 or something. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Uh,
It was
yeah,
an update, yeah.
yeah, more of an update rather than a full redesign sort of thing. But yeah, like sometimes, and interesting for those folks who this is not really design, this little side, but we've been looking at how to do, because obviously we can print the things out and we put the professional print files out for those people who want to do those, and like the home print files and that sort of thing as well. So if you want to cut some out with guidelines and just cut around the shape, we sort of put up 2 different versions there. But I'm really interested in doing I have all the like the thick cardboard dashboards and locations and that sort of thing. And I know Helios has put out a huge amount of, I shouldn't say huge, but like a really useful document sort of explaining how to just print them out and get them like laminated, nice and easy, super cheap, really, really cool sort of way of doing it. But I'd really like to do the thick versions, and I sent off a copy for, I think I just sent a test of GARP or something from One Piece, and from a company, Print and Play, I think it is, with the, what's that little symbol for and, with, I don't know what, ampersand or something, where it's got like
Yeah.
a squiggle for and, Print and Play. And they do like the thick cardboard, and it worked and everything. And Dave's also checked with them, and they apparently don't. I put a bleed in around the Helios 23's template, because it didn't have one originally for like the villain template, and I think maybe the location one as well. And it's pretty easy fix. But we've just got correspondence from that company saying they don't actually need you to send a bleed or send a file with a bleed. So that might be interesting too. So I'm going to test a few different versions, like send one in with a bleed and one without and stuff. But it's a pretty easy fix just to add the bleed. So for those folks who, the 1 or 2 people out there that may want to print one of the Meeple Monkey designs, I'll just know that I think I've only got one hero, it might be villain, who currently actually has a bleed. So if you want a home print file with a bleed, I don't have any of those yet. But that's one thing I will sort of want to go back and update is some of that functionality and stuff as well. But for any folks who want to do like the thick cardboard stuff for those, but all the cards have a bleed for both Diversion Architects and Helios 23's versions, like the hero cards and the like the master plan cards and stuff. They all have a bleed sort of built in anyway, sort of thing. So but yeah, it's one of those things that's like it's hard to take your hands off it and just say it's done, it's like
Oh no, trust me.
yeah.
I've always I keep and I was talking to Nora about this, and it's kind of made us both laugh, where I keep making a bunch of things, and then like something new in the community shows up that makes me have to go back to the there's like, at first I was like, all right, done, like hero, and then Helios is like, you should really do like a pro print version and a home print version. I was like, damn it, go back to the beginning. Then he's like, okay, what, you should put your stuff on tabletop. Like, I was like, oh, now we have a wiki.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, you've been prolific though, because your wiki stuff, you've really filled those out really nicely too. And I noticed I like how you've got the those stat things
Oh,
similar to
the radar chart.
yeah, you've got those in there similar to the My Hero analysis book or whatever.
Yeah, no, I had like that was actually the inspiration for that. I was like, oh, I want to, because I know like people list, like I didn't want to just write the text like, oh, 3 attacks, 5, but like I was like, how do I make that into like a cool visual? I'm like, oh, what's that one chart called? And then I found, I was like, oh, radar chart, and then I found like a free radar
Cool.
chart maker. You don't even need an account. You just type in the data and it gives you an image.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, so like I'll have my picture here. I'll make it a little smaller so it doesn't take up like the entire thing. I'll post like the thing, bold the ability name, and then have the little radar chart at the bottom. And then I just kind of went through. I'm still not done. I still have to go through Sentinels and Pathfinder, but like all of the Naruto stuff's up there on the wiki and on tabletop. All of the My Hero stuff, and like I'm like mid. Like I kind of hit like a speed bump because for Sentinels and Pathfinder, I don't want to put them on tabletop just yet because I don't have a lot for them yet.
Yeah,
And so I
yeah,
want to make like I
that
only
makes
have
sense.
one villain for both. So like I want to make like on the drawing board for Sentinels is Citizen Dawn.
Mm,
And her gimmick in the game is that she summons like a bunch of these citizen minions that are like it's kind of like their own danger threat, and they kind of work with each other. Where there's like citizen blood, citizen sweat, citizen tears, little blood, sweat, and tears, and like they work with each other. Um, and so like for like the gimmick that I have in mind for her is that she'll start with no threats on the thing, and she'll have a threat deck.
mm,
So rather than just six threats, you'll have like an entire threat deck, and like her BAM or whatever will play threats, and you'll lose if all six locations have the threats on them.
mm,
And depending on which threats, some of them might work with each other. Like uh, Citizen Anvil, I think protects the other threats. So it's like adjacent citizen threat cards ignore one damage per hero turn, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like the thing that she's the next villain from the
yeah.
Sentinels universe that I'm currently drafting.
Awesome, awesome. Well, it's funny, you're saying like I'm still going through them. Like I sort of said to Helios, "Oh, yeah, I'll go through and I'll put these little, the little pages together and the little blurbs and stuff for the One Piece characters." And I'm like, I think I've done like 3 or 4 of them, and I'm like, oh, I could just keep keep getting distracted by other things, and
Yeah, no, it's a
I'm so
journey because I'm at the point where every new
sorry.
character that I make. So if I make a new character, I have to make the character, save it as the pro print version and the home print version, test said character,
Hmm.
make any updates if needed, and then when it's done, I have to put it on tabletop, create a wiki page for it, put it in the OneDrive or the Google Drive, post it in the Discord, and then update my Excel sheet so it's part of my randomizer.
Yeah. You're so actually, when you mentioned that randomized, I thought that's going to be a lot of work because he's going to have to update that constantly because he keeps making more.
Yeah, I mean, I could show it off if you want me to. I'm
Yeah.
actually really happy with it.
Yeah. Well, are you able to with your screen? Like, are you able
Oh,
to
is
like
that what
share
this
your screen?
present button? I'm guessing.
I don't know.
Probably.
I think
Let's
I was able to share something on
present.
Andrew's screen. So
Yeah,
yeah,
share
maybe that one down at the
screen.
bottom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Share screen.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Entire screen. Screen one. Boop.
Oh, okay. Now, oh, here we go. Now you've put a thing here. I think I can add that. Let me show.
Does
Let
it
me see. Now I can add that. There we go.
does it show my Excel sheet right now? I don't know what
Yeah.
it
So
looks like.
yeah. So I can see. I think that was what it was like for me. I couldn't see anything else, but we're both visible, and the spreadsheet is visible. We're just sort of we're small off to the side, sort of thing. So yeah. So okay. Now hold on. Can I make that bigger? Let me
Yeah, I
see.
have no idea what it looks like right now on the.
Actually, let's ask the chat. Is that big enough that you guys can read that?
Okay, I see. I just refreshed the page to see what it looks like in the live video.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it shows up.
Yeah, let us know if the font is like if you guys can read that too. But like I imagine because the window I'm looking at is pretty small, but I imagine big
I
screen.
can also enlarge this. Bop, 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 bop.
Oh, there you go. Look at that computer skills. um. Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Too. Okay.
So
Sweet.
I have this so it'll randomize. Like I have a
Do you
randomizer on
just
my
have a button
phone.
that you click or something? Is it like a
I can
button?
if I literally click in between, it'll boop.
Oh, sweet. Oh, so
So
cool.
now I have a 3 player game. All of this is core United with the exception of Gran
Hmm.
Torino's apartment.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I have all of the Marvel United stuff in here. But then I
Oh, so
also
cool.
have all of my homebrew stuff that's currently available on tabletop because that's usually where I play.
Mm.
So like every time I open it, it'll give me a random one, but then I can also just click in between and it'll update. So from
Mm.
Naruto, Samurai Bridge from Naruto, the Chandelier. Oh, that's not homebrew. But I have it set to give me a random number of players, a random number of random heroes for each, the villain, the 6 locations, and then the challenges. and
Oh,
it's
sweet.
pulling from this data tab down here, which now it'll be terrible to see, but so like it's pulling from all these heroes, all these villains, all these challenges, all these locations, these
Ah.
player options, and then I have a 1 through 100 column to give me percentages, which is how it's deciding. Because like right now, I think I have this set to only show if it's like a 20% chance for a challenge. I think
Oh,
so.
okay.
So it's pulling a like there's a hidden column. That's why there's no E. It goes from D to F. There's a hidden
Wow.
column in between that's pulling a random number from this column, and if the number is between 1 and 20, it'll give me a challenge. If it's not, it'll be blank.
Mm. See, kids, this is why you should stay in school and do math. Math, because you'll be able to build your own randomizers. That's really cool. Um, Andrew Fantasia, if you ever watch this video, you should hit up Nelly for this cool template, because I know he plays like you do, where he really he loves just like random,
Yeah,
like keep doing
that,
it that way.
that's
Sort of thing.
that's
Yeah,
RNG take the wheel, but
yeah,
yeah, like if I'm
yeah.
just
That's
if I'm
really
doing
cool.
testing, I'll use I forget the person's name, but there's someone that made like a United app that just has all of the core United stuff in it. But then that doesn't really I can't add my homebrew to that. So if I'm playing with my homebrew stuff, I'll use this Excel sheet and just like, all right, let's do a game. Boop. All right, Legion, Ghost Rider. Like 4 different homebrew locations in
Oh,
here.
nice. Yeah. That's it's funny actually. When we asked it, can they read the stuff, they were like, nope. But then when you zoomed in, it's like it looks like it's worked. So that's all good. Well, I guess I'm looking at the time. It's probably about two. We're a little over 2 hours now, so I probably should wrap up soon. But I think one thing I'd like to finish on is a suggestion that we should do too, just to give us more stuff to work to work on,
Oh God.
is uh, is because there's so many of us in the chat too, is Diversion Architect and Kanji did a lot of great work on that. And I should say that Diversion Architect, I guess it's his sort of brainchild, but I know that Kanji's designed a heap of characters for it. That Rogues Gallery sort of thing. And
Yeah, which I do at some point need to reach out. Diversion, I don't know if you're here. I need to reach out to you because I want to make the Vanguard Action Squad for my heroes. So like Dabi, Toga,
right,
Muscular, Mustard, Moonfish,
yes, right,
and Chainsaw Nomu. Uh,
totally.
I want to do them in that, and I need to grab your templates.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
where that is.
I I think that template, I think all of his current InDesign templates, of which I think that template is one, are accessible on that resource page in the Homebrew. So like
Perfect.
the Homebrew
Yeah.
Homebrew wiki. So you've got all of Raf's files, I believe, up to date in there. Oh, sorry, I should say Helios 23. Oh, sorry. And
Secrets
secret
out,
identity,
even though he's in the chat.
secret identity revealed. But yeah, I think he's
He's on his
chat
alt account right now,
his
which shows his
chat
name.
is
So
all, yeah, yeah. But but I think the InDesign stuff, I think that's all being updated fairly constantly, sort of thing. So that might be in there already, but if not, I'm sure he'd be happy to, if you reach out, sort of thing. But yeah, like there's so many cool things with all of these different IPs that we're working on. Like imagine like a 7 Warlords of the Sea where you have like 5 or
yeah,
6 of them, or like
I really like for my USJ battle with the
hmm
3 villains, which uses the same system that the Dark Avengers will use in season 3.
hmm
Um, I don't know if I got it exact because we don't have those rules. I just kind of
yeah.
zoomed in as much as I could on the preview.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but like I really like that if I need to do like a 3-player, or not a 3-player, like a 3 villain fight. But for something that's like 6, I really like his Rogues Gallery thing. So
Yeah, it's like it's fun, and just making those cards, like they just look really nice, and
yeah,
had a lot of fun making the um, Cameron Hodge version of that sort of thing, and there's just so much content. Like it's such a good system already now, because if you go in and grab what Diversion and Kanji have made for that, you've got tons of characters just right there, just in the Marvel stuff. And then if we can bolster that system with some of the other IP stuff, it just becomes. And then if you love that mishmash sort of concept as well, like that's just Super Smash Brothers heaven, where you have like Punisher and Carrot, or who's a bad guy in One Piece, like Crocodile, and All for One, all together sort of thing. That'd be really cool sort of thing. So yeah, well, anyway, well, and just quickly, I noticed in the comments just a little earlier, a little bit further up, Kenji said he was looking forward to me playing his Punisher, and I ran out of time this evening, but I was hoping to film a, a battle before we did this live stream, and then sort of like hopefully post it tomorrow sort of thing. But I didn't get around to it. But literally almost picked out Punisher. I was going to do the USJ battle, but then I realized I think I've got maybe an older printout of the like a less updated version of it. I think I might have an earlier version of it sort of thing. So I've got to go back and maybe print one.
Actually,
But
yeah, probably. Yeah, because you gave me feedback.
Yeah, that's
that, like there wasn't enough to do if you were like a punchy hero.
Yeah.
So I made the updates. It's like
Mm,
you can't KO the villains, but they have health that you can get like bonuses for.
mm.
Yeah, so there was an update. Once again, thanks to your feedback. So
No, it's all good, mate. But yeah, that's so. But yeah, it was either going to be that or it was going to be the Punisher. And I just didn't get the time. But yeah, that's the other thing, right? So many cool characters you guys have come up with, and I really want to like film all of them, but like I'm finding it hard to sort of get one done every couple of weeks or whatever, even at this point sort of thing. So, but
one a day.
yeah,
one a day. You got us waiting. We refresh our subscription box every day.
Oh, mate.
Any new Meeple content?
Those subscriptions, they take it off. That 10 years time, I'll get monetized and I'll get 30 cents or something for a video or something. But no. Well, then I'm worried, and then I'm like, oh wait, if I'm making money off the channel, does that mean I'm technically making money off the Homebrew stuff? And then am I like, so I'm like, keep
if
the
you do, you
subscriptions
can
down.
keep doing
Keep
that.
the
I don't care about
subscriptions
that.
down. No,
Yeah,
I'm worried about Disney coming after me.
Oh yeah, no. Well, yeah, that's true. Well, they got to come
Marvel.
after. They got to come after us for homebrewing it in the first place. So
Yeah, that's right.
we'll fight them together.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll win. What's the worst that could
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah. But anyway, thank you very much for coming along, Nelly, and
I'm
it's
happy
been
we were able to make this happen.
been a great chat, and you've always been such a like easygoing guy sort of thing, chatting and that sort of stuff. I thought this will be great because we'll have a good old chat, and I wanted to pick your brain and just sort of get your advice or experiences and that sort of thing, just to inspire others to sort of who come across our sort of homebrew section of the internet, and whether, I think I've said in the comments or in the description, whether you've played your stuff or RAF stuff or Kanji's or any of the other guys, Norlith and Diversion Architect, whether you've played your stuff and just want to hear from the designer, whether you want to get some advice about how to get started or what to think about or what things to focus on and that sort of thing. I think it's been really valuable hearing your feedback and stuff. So I really appreciate that, and hopefully others out there in the community who watch this will really enjoy it too. And we look forward to more and more stuff coming out. We won't impose yeah, one a day, but yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing what comes up, and all the future collaborations and stuff too. So that'll be good fun. Did you want to, before we go, did you want to tell the folks that about anywhere else we can find you, or promote
So
any
yeah,
cool stuff?
you can find me here on YouTube and Twitch under NellyNel Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I don't post Marvel United related stuff, although the thought has crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I blame you. But
Yeah.
yeah, so Twitch I do like Let's Play, like just very casual, like
Mhm.
low edit, just kind of right now I'm just playing Aliens Dark Descent.
Mhm.
I stream like 3 to 4 days a week, so I'll be streaming later today on Twitch.
Mhm.
Usually just once again just different video game stuff. I think I'm playing Zelda today. Um, And then yeah, you can find me on the Discord in the Marvel United Discord under Nelly's United Corner. So feel free to talk, leave feedback, or even make requests. If you're making a request from a series that I have not started, that's a dangerous can of worms, so no promise. But yeah, love to talk to you guys. Love to hear what you think.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much, and yeah, I definitely hope we can have another chat down the track. Like we said before, if Nor is available, maybe we can sort of tee up a sort of a three-way chat there, and thanks so much for all the guys in the comments, Raf and Sin and Kanji. I was going to say Nelly as well, but yeah, because I could see you're in the comments as well. But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out, and yeah, I hope to have some discussions, down the track, and sort of have some bigger discussions and that sort of thing as well. And yeah, definitely keep sort of trying all these different IPs and these different homebrew things, and I hope you guys are all just having a good time with it. But anyway, well, thank you all. Thanks, guys, and yeah, well, this has been NellyNel and Meeple Monkey, and Meeple
How does it
Monkey
go like
out.
this?
Yeah, like this. You gotta have a broken finger though.
Oh, all right, hold on. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. See you guys. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye bye. There we go.